YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Check it out. This is all new from E-flite. It is Mike Patey's second large creation. Well, he's made a lot of creations over the years, but this is a recent one, Scrappy. As you can see, beautiful scale rendering of his performance airplane with a giant Lycoming engine in it. And of course, it does have huge flaps, and it does have some amazing spring-loaded looking landing gear, but it doesn't have the leading edge slats. So full disclosure, it does kind of look like it has them, but it doesn't have them. Big paddle prop, and of course a huge brushless motor. We're flying ours on 300 4S, but we're going to try to fly a 450 4S as well. Just keep in mind the 450 4S comes with an IC2, so you're going to have an adapter. We'll link to all that stuff and also to the plane, so if you decide you want to buy one. Full disclosure, is our second flight with this plane, and we did some adjustments to the rudder mechanically. We'll show that next or at the end or something like that. But no matter what, here it goes, guys. Timer is cleared for 5 minutes. We should get closer to 10. Watch that thing, get that tail up. Oh yeah, beautiful. By the way, that was after some effort. Okay, 30–40% throttle here. And look at that beautiful, beautiful plane. Absolutely gorgeous. Can you imagine if that was a real Scrappy? That would be so dang cool. By the way, this thing will stall and it will drop wingtips. So just be careful. I'm gonna show you right here at a little bit of altitude. It's got lots of power, but not enough to do anything you want. See that? That was a stall, okay? Hard on the throttle. I did that on purpose to recover out of it, okay? So just remember, when you fly this plane now out of the takeoff flaps, without flaps, it's even more aggressive and bitey. So I'm gonna just go up into a stall configuration and I'm gonna stall it. You guys see that? I tipped it and I kept it flying. I was trying to avoid getting too far away. You can see the nice nav lights now. Power on stall, nice forward stall that time. But remember, when you get those flaps out, this thing will stall on you. Okay, so take off flaps, now landing flaps. You can slow it down nicely and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Don't let it bite, okay? By the way, that throttle condition, I am currently at 21% throttle. Here's 25, 26 right there. You can fly in extremely tight environments. Our grass is short right now, about 2.7 inches, cut yesterday by a robotic lawnmower named Yarbo. But the thing is, I can tell you this, our grass is still a little bit too thick to put down with this plane, which is unfortunate that you can't. Now, takeoff flaps are where this plane lives, in my opinion, and I would suggest that if you're gonna fly it, that you fly it in takeoff flaps. Okay, now without flaps, you can see the speed increases quite a bit. Haven't even hardly changed our throttle configuration, and look at how much cleaner that thing is. It is incredible. Yes, you do have to coordinate your turns. You have to fly this thing pretty actively because it is a plane. I love the way it flies, actually. It reminds me a lot of Draco, but it's definitely a very stout, robust plane, AKA it's heavy. I don't have a problem with a heavy plane as long as it's got power to suit it. The only thing that's bad about a powerful and heavy plane is that you do tend to burn through batteries a little quicker. Okay, full landing flaps now. We'll bring it in here and see what it does on the middle of the runway. You guys see it dropping? That's the way it likes to stall. So I'm gonna show you that again. Takeoff flaps now. We'll just do a little efficiency flying to get back in position. Same exact setup, takeoff flaps now. Now landing flaps. Stay in your throttle. Reduce your throttle, point that nose down, and land it. There it is. A little bit of oscillation at the end because your pilot is not as good as you think, or Mike Patey is definitely makes it look easier. Very good turning radius, look at that. So no thrust reverse, but we can at least turn tight. Now, get it up on its mains. Beautiful takeoff out of the flaps. Going right over that tree that's growing through our junk pile, which I need to trim. And you can definitely not hear that Lycoming engine because it's so quiet. I gotta say, one of the things I love about this plane is the beautiful paint job. It is fully painted and it looks amazing. The only thing I don't like about it, looks-wise, is that it has painted windows instead of clear windows. But if they were clear windows, they'd be clear to nothing. And so I kind of understand the rationalization in their decision-making for that. Okay, full throttle, let's do a big loop. Remember guys, this is a heavy plane. It takes some real estate to do things like that. A lot of drag. Full landing flaps coming out right now. But can you argue with how dang gorgeous it is? And by the way, the lighting really does help in terms of keeping visibility keeping visibility where we want it. Nice calm night too, I must say. We've got only very small amounts of thermal action and very, very light breeze up at altitude. Let's call altitude 100 feet. Takeoff flaps. Now landing flaps. We did adjust our takeoff and landing flap elevator correction, compensation, and you can check that out on that first flight. We'll talk a little bit about it, but you guys see what I'm talking about there? You got to bring it in with some power or she will just fall out of the sky. And I think we've got that nibbed in the bud with about 17 and 18. That's our correction values, which is crazy. There's our timer at 5 minutes. I think it's about half our flight is consumed. You can push it and go a little bit longer. I am gonna try a bigger battery though. Okay, so now, as you can see, whoa, you can get that thing into a pilot-induced oscillation. So decent no flap takeoff there. Now takeoff flaps for the tight turn. We'll just bring it in on the outside. We're gonna try doing a better landing. So obviously the takeoffs and landings with this plane are fun. You can do off-road stuff, but you do have to have a flat enough pad just to make the wheels not bind, because you'll chalk those big monsters, even though they'll roll over small stones and dirt and things like that, little clods of mud. The grass is just so tall. Okay, get on the mains. I forced the throttle in too fast, and so what did it do? It janked me to the left. I'm gonna try again. That's one thing I like about this plane. It makes you fly it. There's a lot of planes anymore that they just are so good that you don't hardly have to fly them. You guys see what I had to do? I had to resist a little bit of that movement to the left again because I tried to force the throttle in. If you take off with a lower throttle, now this is a STOL performance plane, so let's try a STOL takeoff here. Yes, you can force it into the air. Full up elevator. Trying to strike the balance where it doesn't fall out of the ground, fall to the ground from flight is difficult. Full disclosure. Takeoff flaps, throttle cuts off. We're gonna go full up elevator as soon as we get the throttle in, okay? So full throttle and full up elevator. As you can see, you can get into the air very quick. We're gonna try that again with landing flaps. I'm out of flaps, clean right now. You wanna see a no flap landing, camera crew?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll slip. No, you don't even need to slip. We'll just bring it in. There we are, full up. Not too bad, actually. Okay, about the same spot, almost exactly. Now full landing flaps, we're gonna do full throttle, and we're gonna get it on mains and then slam it, okay? So full throttle on the mains and slam it. There you go, that's the way you get it in the air for your STOL competitions. That was a critically low warning, but I don't believe it's actually critically low. I believe that is more or less because I was in it so hard on the throttle. So take off flaps now. Let's fly to the ground, full landing flaps there. And I think what we're gonna do to get this plane to land smooth is we're gonna have to deploy the flaps at the right time. So I'm gonna try something different here. I'm gonna jump into flap system, and I'm gonna go in here to 2 seconds. I'm gonna change that to 4 seconds, which is unusual. I would never do that with a small plane, except I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try deploying the flaps upon landing approach and see if we can line it up. Okay, so take off flaps now. Here we go, so we get into the flaps, make a nice straight takeoff. Clean flight here. As you can see, beautiful flight. Gonna throw in a nice big stall turn. There it is. That was a little bit too much of a stall turn because I ran out of power before I executed it. There's our takeoff flaps. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fly it like I stole it right into my final. And then when I get ready to land, watch this. Force the nose down, full landing flaps. Oh yeah! I didn't even have to do anything to the elevator during that landing. It just pretty much greased it in for me. But it was a timing-based maneuver, just like it would be if I was controlling the elevator. So I'm gonna see if I can do it again. I'll do it the other direction this time. Okay, going out here. Bring it around. Okay, here we go. So bring it in, get it into ground effect, and then full landing flaps out of the throttle. Oh my goodness. I think I might need a personal moment. That was so good. Okay, we're gonna try that again. So take off flaps now. In the air. Oh, beautiful takeoff. Love it. We'll fly through this low point between the bushes. We're gonna bring it in here, get it into ground effect. We'll see if we can terminate this flight. Full landing flaps. Oh yeah, terrible. As you can see, that one did not do the trick. We'll try again. 13.5, so we're gonna have to take it at this, okay? So bring it in, full landing flaps, there it is. Nice bounce. Okay, so all I've got to say is that adjustment probably didn't solve my problem, but it was kind of fun to play with. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set that back to 2 seconds, okay? It was fun to play with, and my best landing was with that timer. But the idea is what I was trying to do is I was trying to squeeze out a middle setting where I could come in, and as it was bleeding off the inertia, instead of pounding it into the ground like this, it would sort of create that balloon effect, and I would take advantage through the ground effect. But ground effect, let's call it 1.5 feet on this plane. You come in, you enter it, and you either stall it into the ground or you drag it out beautifully. And I only got one of them out of all the landings so far. Okay, so let's load a battery together. Timer's cleared. You guys are going to probably see it in this order. So obviously the bigger 450 milliamp hour battery is just about 50% bigger than the 300. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, but we're going to see how it works right now together. Okay, so I'm going to come out of the flaps just so I don't accidentally bump those while I'm working. Really well built plane. Beautiful looking. We'll pop out the battery this time. Now we have a full Unbox build radio setup that's coming. It's a pretty simple Unbox build radio setup, so hopefully you won't have too many questions. So that's another spent battery. I'm gonna give that to the camera crew. I technically have 2 of these charged and ready to go. One thing I found about this plane, it's a little easier to load the battery after you plug it in. Okay, so the negative is going toward my right hand. Let it initiate. Okay, there it goes. So now it's good. Throttle cuts on, sticks down, we should be safe. And then what I like to do is I load the battery with this going in a little bit deeper because it is, after all, a bigger battery. And that's gonna get our center of gravity where we want it. And I'll show you exactly where that is on this before we take this set of sorties up. Now it's a little bit leaning to the one side, so I hope that's not gonna cause problems. But as you can see, we marked it here. And really, if you get right down to it, it's the leading edge of this crack is about where you want to be. And so that's, I mean, you can't really, with the pads of my finger, I can barely test any more than that. And that is just about perfect. Okay. So both batteries feel about the same in terms of the center of gravity, but I'm thinking what's going to happen is I'm just going to have to come in with a little bit more throttle. Let's find out. Throttle cuts off, take off flaps. Okay. Let's drag this one out. Oh, beautiful. Man, that thing looks good. The black does disappear with the trees behind it, but I kind of like the black. It looks totally sweet. Okay, so let's try a landing. Take off flaps, now landing flaps. Whew. I'm sorry guys, what happened there is I actually misjudged and was gonna hit right on the edge of the landing strip, so I didn't want to do that. Okay, so let's get it in the air nicely. Oh, so gorgeous. The 450 feels good so far, guys. Get out of the flaps. A little bit more amplitude of power. Give it a little bit of a kiss so that it'll do our stall turn there. We don't hear any chiming or complaining. Okay, landing flaps on the way back downhill. A little bit of aerobatics. Now just keep in mind, you're gonna lose 18% of your elevator due to the elevator correction as configured, or 17 or whatever it is. So you do need to be a little bit careful and respect your ability to get out of a hole. Okay, so we'll do some barrel rolls. Pretty good roll rate there. You're not gonna be doing a lot of 3D with this plane just because it's heavy, in my opinion. There's people that will, just to spite me, and that's cool if you want to spite me, or you could just do it because you love it. Okay, take off flaps only. We'll try a take off flaps only landing. Ooh, nice. That wasn't too bad. A little bouncy, but I'm gonna tell you this. I challenge you to not bounce this thing. It's just kind of the way that the plane seems to like to land. Get that thing on the mains. Ooh, hit the crack in the driveway and it just launched me. What a beautiful flying creation though. Gotta say, I love when you can fly them low and under your feet like that. It's so much fun. Yes, coordinate your turns, initiate the roll, and then coordinate now full landing flaps to see if we can slow it down more for this landing. There we are. That was not too bad. It just likes to tip. And I don't know if that's just because of my propensities to want to ride the throttle stick a little bit. Let's do a takeoff for stall, full landing flaps here. Full up elevator, wait for it to stop, full throttle, and then there she is. Absolutely no problem. So it's almost like cheating because there's so much power, but I gotta say, I love having more power. I think that is the ticket for most people to have a good experience. Also, I'm just noticing a little bit of tendency to ride. Okay, full landing flaps there. See what I'm talking about? If you deploy the landing flaps while you're already into ground effect without going a little longer on the deployment, it just doesn't work well. I wanna see if I can fix this. Okay, so get it on the mains. Ooh, it did that thing again. I wanna see if I need some trim on the rudder now. Okay, so we'll just go up at altitude just a little bit and let's see if it's moving. Oh yeah, a couple clicks to stop that roll, and maybe one click to the left, 2 clicks to the left. So that'd have been 4 trim values. Okay. Upside down flight performance is just fine. Lots of power, yes, you can get out of it, but it's a little bit tough to go upside down out of a upside down flight performance. I'm finding myself riding the elevator just a little bit to bring that thing back to planet Earth. Okay, so let's try landing now that we've worked out a couple of those details. Beautiful. Tried to feed in a little bit of throttle there to stop the bounce, and I failed miserably. So one thing I'm gonna tell you about this plane is you have to fly it. Is that bad? No, not at all. Not to me. I love flying this thing. It's very fun. Is it the best plane we've ever had? No. Is it the worst? Definitely not. Does it feel stout and strong and robust and cool? Yes. The lights, definitely good. As you can see, we're getting a little darker with the bigger pack. I really do like the way it flies. It feels good on the 300 and the 450. I don't know why they recommended the 300. Probably because you don't need, then you wouldn't need the adapter. But I gotta say, the LEDs really help to offset that black on the boom. I'm gonna do a no flap landing here. We'll see if we can show the people how that looks. Okay. Here we are. Ah, not too bad. One of my best.
You think that little bit of weight is actually helping
get it to stick to the ground, maybe? I don't know. Okay, no flap takeoff here. Okay, so we'll just do a box here. Okay, so when I say a box, I'm gonna come out of this box, see if I can get it down to the ground and land it. That was out of throttle, and that was pretty good. Nice little box. And I love the turning radius, guys. It makes up for a tremendous amount of other problems. A little bit of throttle there. Now remember, we have our 5-minute timer is going off right now. I gotta tell you this right now. The 5-minute timer is way premature. We probably do 12 minutes of flight time, 10 minutes of flight time conservatively on 300. And if you're really careful, that was a pretty good landing. I'm finally feeling like I'm getting it. And by the way, the strobes are nice. They're bright. They point downward a little bit. And I feel like you have enough visibility from the front. Oh no, what happened to our LED over here? There's supposed to be one right there.
Oh.
That's no good. I wonder if we lost it. I don't remember that being burned out.
I don't either.
We'll have to watch the video footage. Well, and remember guys, we get PSOT samples, which means that there's product development team is working with, oh no, it's not burned out. It's still on, it's just weak.
Yeah.
See it? Wait,
the angle.
Is it?
Or are we seeing the strobe underneath?
Nope, I'm seeing it right now. Yeah. What the heck? It's like pointed back at me now. Watch this, when you're going forward, it's not there, but then when it goes past, you can see it. You see it? Look at the front of the wingtip. When I drop down, you'll see it. Look at the front of the wingtip. You can see it right now. Ah, that's crazy. What a weird circumstance. I wonder if it's just one of those LEDs that just got kicked a little bit funny, but it's definitely got a little bit of glow. Not a big deal for me. Remember guys, we get these product samples that were used and abused for many, many moons, and yours is hopefully not gonna have that same issue, okay? So, thoughts about this plane as I fly for my 3rd flight. My only issue with this plane is the fact that we had to wait to share it with you. We don't like doing that to you. It's kind of the way the works happened. It's kind of the way they worked out the deals. We thank Mike Patey for letting us be involved with this, obviously, but at the end of the day, oh yeah, there we go. That was takeoff flaps and only deployed at the last second. But what we're trying to say is we thank Mike Patey for sharing these planes with the world. He's done this before, and he did it with the Draco, and thank God he did when he did, because shortly thereafter there was an accident, and he had a crosswind takeoff that basically tipped that sucker over, and against his best judgment, or his better judgment, he went ahead and took off crosswind on the strip instead of doing it in the taxiway like he wanted to. You guys can watch him dismantle that crash. He'll talk about it in one of his videos on Mike Patey's YouTube channel. It's a very good YouTube channel. If you're into aviation engineering and that sort of thing, it's really cool. And of course, his brother also has a little bit of an online presence, Mark Patey. So I like watching the stuff that they put up because I'm interested in that crap and I geek out on the engineering stuff. And of course, he's way more into it than I am. But it's always interesting to watch people do big things with their life. And so for Mike Patey to share this, one of his really intimate things in his life with the rest of the world is just, it's really nice of him to do it. Because he didn't have to, he has no obligation to do that. And he definitely doesn't need the money to do it. But at the end of the day, we appreciate him doing it. And watching people do stuff with their life, I guess getting back to what I was saying, is just, it's a joy of mine. I love watching people find success, people working hard and doing good for others. Because remember guys, when you find people that have money, there's a reason they got money, and it's not always because dad had money. A lot of times it's because they worked hard for it and they earned it. And I'm pretty sure Mike's one of those people. Because people that do things, a lot of times they run into money. So good for him and good for anybody else who does. You should be trying to do the same thing. Not that that's always the only way. I'm gonna just definitely say this. I love aviation and aviation is expensive.
Yep.
So if anybody wants to do aviation, work hard, mind your P's and Q's in school, don't give up, you'll get there. Full landing flaps here. And by the way, that is one beautiful little plane. I gotta say, you know, in terms of the only disappointments I find on this plane, yeah, that LED is definitely on. I don't know what the deal is. It's like it fell down or something. Throttle cut's on. Let's take a look at it real quick. Yeah, it's definitely on. See? I don't know what it's like.
Is
it's
the
like
battery screwing with it?
Yeah, I doubt it. It's the same. It's 4S.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, this plane is just it's a really well done model. It's beautiful. It's got a lot of strength to it. It's got a lot of strength, soft tire, beautiful and reinforced tail wheel, guys. We saw on the big Draco that we had issues with like the spring and stuff. So I like that. I like that that's nice and stout. But I gotta say, the reason we had issues with the full scale was, or the bigger scale, the 2 meter, is because we had springs, and when you did thrust reverse, it would kind of pull and tug and screw up the springs. We don't have that issue. Oh, and for those of you that think you need to hand launch this, I'm just gonna show you hand launch, take off flaps. I'm gonna put it in safe just to show you. Full throttle. There you go. Okay, so I'm in safe. Safe is gonna mix in up elevator evidently. So when I let go of the sticks, this is what happens. The plane levels, okay? So I'm gonna go a little bit more on throttle. Can you see the sticks? Get out of the throttle, push it down, let go, pull it up, let go. It just levels the plane. Well, it kind of puts it into an attitude like it's sitting on the table, okay? So I'm gonna do one more safe landing for you, full landing flaps. Yes, the flaps still work and safe. We will show you the full Unbox build radio setup next, or there might be our first flight first, because we do make some adjustments. And yes, I have noticed it's really easy to tip. I wish we had those anti-crash drag bars like we did on the Draco. Let's do a safe takeoff. Just take off flaps now. I did kind of, full disclosure, jank it a little bit there just to avoid the tall grass. Ooh, and that is one of the areas you gotta watch out for with safe. I was trying to force it back up into the air. I'm out of safe now, and I just didn't have enough rudder only to make the turn I was trying to make. Okay, I would have in AS3X, but I didn't in safe. Okay, so just be careful about that. Let's show you how short you can do a landing too. We'll go around here. There it is. And I just gotta say, the whole like riding along on one wheel is a little bit embarrassing as an influencer or whatever you wanna call us here on YouTube. But don't be afraid to do that. If it takes a little while to get used to it, this plane is gonna take a few minutes for you to get those landings dialed in. I'm surprised. It's got really wide, stout landing gear, and it doesn't want to tip very far because the wingtip, it just hits the wingtip. But if we had those like anti-scrape bars, man, it would make it so easy. Okay, so let's take back off and we'll fly facing the house here for just a second. So remember, we're on a 450 milliamp hour battery. Okay, we're in AS3X now. And the AS3X really has this thing rocking nicely. I don't know that we have AS3X Plus at this point on the micros. Okay, full landing flaps there at the very last second. And we're getting the hang of it, but you'll notice I am really having to use that elevator to help with the landings, guys. A little bit of rudder there on takeoff. Feels like I'm taking off a P-51 where you lift up that tail wheel and you've got that disparity between the control authority on the rudder and the control authority on the tail wheel. And I tell you what, it is a palpable change when you go up in the air. Even after that adjustment, we've probably got a little bit, maybe let's call it 10% difference in rudder input. It's a big difference. You should have seen it when I first started. It was like 30%. You couldn't get enough. There you go. Slam it down. You guys see what I'm talking about? The difference between no flap landing and flap landing. If you jank out of the power like you are with a flap landing, you're gonna really regret it, okay? Because this thing will fall like a rock. Okay, so full landing flaps now. A little bit of throttle, a little bit of throttle, a little bit of throttle. Woo! And I'm just gonna say, if you try to fly it like an EDF, it doesn't work. Because this is not an EDF, you may have noticed, an electric ducted fan. Okay, throttle, a little bit of rudder, beautiful takeoff. Beautiful takeoff. Springing it around. There we go. Okay. Almost got veered off course there. That wind kind of came out of nowhere. It's not very strong, but it just came out of nowhere. Full landing flaps there. See what I'm talking about? You put it down, it bounces. And I don't know if you guys can see that elevator at full up status when that happens, but that's what I'm trying to do is, it's basically like when you try to make a correction and it's way too late as a pilot, you can always tell. Okay, here we go. Beautiful. But then it just doesn't relent. That whole bounce factor, it's palpable. And if you can work it out, guys, you're gonna feel like $1,000,000. And there are certain planes where you get that, and you're just like, I really, really wanna just grease the landing hard. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Ooh, as the visibility gets worse, I'm struggling to tell where my landing gear are.
I can see that for sure.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay, full landing, because they're so dark and it blends with the black of the plane. You guys see what I'm talking about? The orange is super easy to see, but as that sun drops over the horizon, I'm having a hard time seeing the landing gear when they get close to the ground. Let's see if I can do better. There it is. At the end of the day, it's gonna challenge your skills. Now, do you have to be an expert pilot to fly this? I don't think so. In fact, if you're not an expert pilot and you're concerned, the best thing you can do is fly it in safe, okay? That's the way we set ours up, and land it in grass. You're not gonna hurt it. It might flip over, so just slow it down and let it stall into the grass. It's gonna be no problem. In fact, I can demonstrate that once quick. So we'll go ahead and take off flaps. I'll do a safe flight. Okay. So even with full landing flaps, okay, here we go, in safe. There we go, so we're in the air, we're in safe. I'll show you what I'm talking about, full landing flaps now. So it's gonna slow it down the most. And I'll just bring it right down to where we are, and I'll just slow it down real nice and just pull up all the way on the elevator, and there it is. It's not gonna hurt it, but it might flip around like it just did, okay? So just keep in mind our grass might be a little bit taller than yours. If you're flying from super, like small, short grass or like Bermuda grass, like what they get at Joe Nall or in the South, you guys will have a lot easier time. We have Fiskew and Kentucky bluegrass here where we are in Iowa, in central Iowa. So the northern climates are gonna have different grasses. So unless we're out on like a golf green or something like that, we're gonna tend to have this type of grass here, okay? So then the other option for doing very conservative and easy landings, okay, so I'm in AS3X now, would be to find tall grass. And the tall grass is super easy. You just basically put down in the tall grass here. And to be honest, I don't want to break my plane, so I'm not going to do it. But I know for a fact, okay, I got to prove it. If I'm going to say I know for a fact, I better be willing to do it. Okay, here we go. So you can just do that, okay? And it'll catch your plane. As you can see, it just came in there, knocked the grass out of the way. And this plane is light enough still that it's sitting on top of the grass, guys. So just kind of like a sailplane. So 0 damage, 0 impact to the plane. All right, so let's decompress about this plane. First of all, I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's definitely one of the micros that's really loud. So you guys can hear it constantly correcting. I love the way it looks. It feels good in the air. It feels good on the sticks. It's harder to land than you'll probably think it will be. And, but that's not something to deter. I think it's gonna be a fun thing. I think you're gonna enjoy it. And I think most of us are gonna enjoy the process of learning to fly it, because it is a little bit different experience. And that's one of the joys of flying RC, is you get all these different cool experience squeezed into bite-sized chunks when they're micros like this. Now, at the end of the day, is this a better or worse experience than the Draco? That's a good question, because I know some of you are gonna ask that. I would suggest that it is so different, and yet it's very similar, because it is a relatively heavy and relatively small plane. The Draco Micro, I really like flying. It's just like flying the big one, okay? So how can this be so similar? Well, because creation comes from a creator. And when you have a creator like Mike Patey, you're gonna tend to have similar circumstances set up. Why? Because that's the way he wants his plane to fly, okay? So it's so weird that we can have and enjoy a skill and a hobby where the expertise of a creator can create something that is scaled down to a toy and the look and feel is the same. That's so cool. And I hadn't connected the dots until just now. So interesting finding, didn't expect it at all. The thing looks absolutely fantastic. Good job, Mike Patey, on making this one. Obviously, the full-scale one still lives to see this day. I'd like to see some 3D printed bicycles for my kid or something, so we can put those on there. That'd be a neat feature. Of course, it's gonna be draggy as heck, and I don't expect them to just include those for free, but it would be kind of a cool gesture. That being said, thank you. That being said, I like the way it flies. Some of you are gonna be disappointed that it doesn't have leading edge slats that are active. I appreciate why we don't have them on such a small plane, but if we ever see a big one, I'm gonna be a little bit less nice if they don't put them on there in my assessment, okay? Because I do truly believe that that is like one of the factors. Did I get it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's one of the factors that people are coming to see on a Scrappy, okay? Is the dual leading edge slats that come out and separate from the wing. It's like the Fowler configuration. It's super cool looking. Is it necessary on an ultra micro? Not really. And by the way, show them the fog on the wing. That's so cool. So guys, we love flying. It's been springtime weather for the last week and a half, and that means the damn gift shop has pretty much been on hold, sitting in a puddle of silt. Not just water, but silt, okay? So it is both great and terrible all at the same time, because it's kind of nice to not have people tearing up your yard when it's all wet, but it's also terrible because we kind of want them to hurry up and tear up the yard so we can get back to not having a torn up yard.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we appreciate you guys being part of this channel, and part of being with us here on Brian Phillips RC is helping to support us financially. The easiest way you can do it is buy these planes from the links in the video description below. Don't worry, we're gonna show you the last flight, but real quick before we go, if you wanna support us in other ways, we have Patreon for monthly support. Thanks for being supporters. YouTube members, thanks for being monthly supporters. YouTube super thanks for one time, and if you don't wanna be in those groups, that's totally fine. We get it all day long. PayPal, we have that as well, so you can do that without being in those groups. And then we have a P.O. Box. Just let us know if you're gonna send something so we can arrange to get it picked up from the P.O. Box. Scrappy, awesome. Mike Patey, thanks for letting us share this with you. Amazing experience. I hope you enjoyed it, by the way. And by the way, when you're ready to fly in and test out the damn gift shop, I don't know if you know this, you probably don't watch. If you do, I'd be honored. Leave it in the comments. It would really make my day. This is our main strip. We fly from here a lot. This was designed as an airstrip, yes, for radio controlled. It's not long enough. That's why we're extending it. That's why we're doing wide sweeps. Yes, that's gonna be the damn runway. The damn runway is gonna continue somewhat up the hill. We haven't decided. It's kind of a familial issue right now between the camera crew and I, but then the damn gift shop's gonna sit over there, and there'll be a hangar door, 46 by 17.7. So if you bring Scrappy, you should be able to, well, I actually don't know how wide your wingspan is. It might be wider than that, but we could probably squeeze it in there overnight if there's a bad storm or something. And yes, we are designing it to bring in planes occasionally, and we'll probably have planes of our own. Probably just ultralights for a while, but I would love to see this plane at our property. And yes, we have about 1,200 feet with a dog leg and some deer. Look.
There's deer.
Deer. Is it just one?
I can only see one.
Look, I only see one right now. But at the end of the day, we would love to share this property with other people that are like-minded, that love things like this. And obviously you do. So that being said, guys, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for being part of our wonderful experience here on Brian Phillips RC. We want to help spread the joy of the RC addiction, habit, hobby. Sorry, it's one of those things. And we're gonna do it day by day by doing unbox build radio setups, maiden flights just like this, whenever they come up. And every chance we get, we do it because we wanna help you guys get up to speed. So thanks for being here. One more flight coming. Stay tuned. So much more right around the corner. All right, so we're gonna fly Scrappy next to our dinky little project here. And this is where hopefully the full scale project that you guys will be able to see the damn gift shop. We're gonna take off from this little area. This of course being rough and tumble, although it is pretty smooth because we've had so much rain. So without further ado, here we go, take off flaps. We'll show you this thing does all right on off-road conditions, especially when the off-road conditions are construction sites that have been rained on perpetually for the last week.
Yes.
And there's lots of erosion. But what's kind of cool too about this is you guys get to see the foundation of the damn gift shop. And Scrappy is super fun. It's a really well-behaved, good flying plane. Definitely takes a little bit of skill to fly, but it's not hard. There is safe and AS3X on it. So that means that when you get it out of the box, all you have to do is basically mount the wing, which takes one screw. It's pretty easy. And you can store it in that same box if you decide to. Woo! And you can get out of trouble like that. Kind of reminds me of the F-18 pilot that was at the air show and about bit it.
I saw that.
Into the crowd. And I was like, well, that's not good. That's the damn runway, guys. And Scrappy is gonna be one of the first to fly over it. Not the first, but one of the first. Also over the garbage can and Kaibo. Always super important maneuvering. Just flew the big door and just flew back out. And yes, that would have actually been in true color. That would have been right through the big overhead door. Okay. Through the big overhead door and then through the smaller overhead door. So folks, the Scrappy is super fun. Powerful brushless motor. It's actually a huge motor. Big flaps, big ailerons, good LEDs, good lighting package. A little bit simpler than the Draco, but it is true to form. Even the wing, and I just learned this, even the wingtips are a wingtip that Mike Patey is looking at using on his Scrappy, but he is not currently using it on Scrappy. He's got a more conventional wingtip style installed right now. And so I think this is actually an upgraded version he's thinking of implementing. So it's pretty cool. You guys get to fly the future instead of flying the past, which is kind of neat. So we'll take a landing here, just out of the throttle and just bounce it in. Super nice, robust landing gear, great ground handling. And we'll take off again here, show you a STOL takeoff, just like you're on a riverbed. Very beautiful. Out of the flaps, now take off flaps. Flight times, conservatively on 304S would be about 10 minutes if you're not crazy with your throttle management. And if you are crazy with your throttle management, it might be just a little bit less than that. Let's shoot the moon here. We'll go ahead and do a barrel roll around it. Oh, dang it, I didn't get all the way. We'll try it this way. There it is.
Right through it that time.
Good job. Good job. I do notice on this Scrappy that you have to kind of ride the elevator to keep everything level and true. As your speed changes, it seems to have a pitch up moment. And that could be just a little trimming issue that I have based on my center of gravity choice. But I definitely don't have a big problem with the way it flies. I like the way it flies. It's very fun. It is a little bit active. You have to actually fly it a little bit, especially for landings. Do not get out of throttle and expect to land with full flaps. It will fall out of the sky, which is kind of cool. And I have an appreciation for planes that actually require you to fly a little bit. The black really disappears into the trees, full disclosure, so just be aware of that. Guys, if you didn't know, this is our construction site for the damn gift shop. 1 minute left on 5. So this is the construction site. It's pretty much been sitting here for a week because we got rained out for like 6-7 days. We've gotten about 8 to 9 inches of rain, which is a lot for Iowa. We are in central Iowa, if you guys didn't know. That's the pond that I'm flying over right now. Hopefully at some point we'll not have a Bob's Septic Jim John, or whatever it is, Kaibo there. I'm sure Jim's John is probably like a branded thing. I'm probably going to get a cease and desist from all media mentions from Jim's John.
It's a porta potty.
But speaking of media mentions, you guys are probably noticing that this video came out a little bit after the release from Horizon. That was part of the brand specified deal. And so definitely not our choice, but also we're very fortunate and happy to be involved in this project. These planes are really good. The Mini Draco and the Mini Scrappy, or the Micro rather, not Mini. The Micros have been really good. You want to get a little bit in front of the pond here? I think we should.
Yeah, you want to walk over there?
I'm going to walk in front of you though.
Okay.
This 3-inch clean can be a little bit difficult to walk on. Especially when it's not packed all the way in, but we got it packed in most places now.
Yeah, it's getting better.
And full disclosure, I'm gonna walk over in my menu and just look at my voltage, and we are at what looks like about 20% left there.
Okay.
So we should be good for a couple of low passes over the water. Now I only see one spot to put landing gear in. And this is one of our hopes, is to fly from the damn runway here and just be able to do things like this, which of course we'll be able to when it's done, but then launch a full-scale plane right here. In fact, if I could ever get Mike Patey out here, he could probably put down on this runway, the damn runway. Should be about 700 feet of pavement. And then I'm gonna fly right past you over the tall grasses here. You guys see how long it takes me to fly? So cool. And then the debate right now between Megan and I is how far up we want to go. I want to go up to the top and have a little turnaround. She wants it to look like a farm because it is a farm. And I'm like, well, that's all fine and dandy until you're the one landing a plane and your life is on the line, or it's muddy and you don't want to take off and land, and so you're hemmed in by a shorter strip, or there's a transition from the hill. You're going to have a bump that you hit, potentially, unless we just do a really good job. I am getting spider webs on my face. What the heck? Yeah. But the thing is, when you roll down that hill, you're going to gain speed. You're going to come down here. Hopefully wingspans will not be an issue with the trees. And then that is smooth there. We took that bump out, and then you'll come up here and launch right into that 400 and something acre clearing. Oh, so that's our low voltage alarm. Okay, so I'm gonna just efficiency fly this thing, take off flaps now only. And if this thing runs out of juice, then I will not trade off altitude. So camera crew, I'm gonna just go up here and do an efficiency flight.
Okay.
And when I say efficiency, guys, I just mean I don't wanna die without enough power to get back to my landing zone. So I'll just do a nice little circle here, keeping that nose just below level. Nice efficiency flight. I'm not out of power yet, but I need a little bit of power to land this thing. So just remember, when you land a plane like this, it needs to land in power. Don't run it out of power, okay? Full landing flaps now. And here it's gonna be. There it is, guys.
Nice.
Beautiful landing, really super simple, and what a cool fitting environment for Scrappy, which looks like a sandbar. Mike Patey and his friends might be out in Utah just flying along, enjoying a good old time. I really enjoy this plane. I like the way it flies. It's big enough that it matters, but it's not small and weak like you might expect. It is made of good quality foam, and so it's kind of soft here. I don't know if you guys can see from my footprint there, but this thing has a really good amount of strength to it. It's not light duty, but it's not going to be the type of plane that you would get for a beginner that you can crash up and bang and, you know, run into stuff. You will damage this foam. It will get dents and bruises and bumps just like a bigger model, but it's light that way. So if you have EPS for a plane like this and it's reinforced properly, not only is it a very strong plane and good platform, but it just looks the part. You can get away with better scale lines in that way. And just look how sweet that is. Even the dirty tires help build up the look of this thing. Oh, and we were talking about this very briefly in our Unbox Build radio setup. I got some clarification. These wingtips are a design that Mike wants to use on Scrappy. He hasn't implemented it yet, but he's working on it right now. So in the video I said, I don't know if this is like just a copy and paste, but it is not. It is actually a different wing design, which we thought it was. We held them next to each other and they're not the same wing. They're close, but not the same. And it would make sense that Scrappy would have a similar wingtip design to Draco, okay? So just keep in mind, couple things to consider on this model. It does not have the wing strike sticks. I wish it did. It could really use them. As you can see, I've dragged a bunch of times. And I also noticed that I swear there's just a little bit of a cant on that wing. Like it comes back just a hair. I don't know if that's true or if it's just the way the model went together, but does that not look like those wings are swept back like 1 or 2 degrees?
Really?
Yeah, it's like it's stuck in my head because if you look down the line of that, they are swept. So I don't know if they're swept because of the way that he designed his leading edge slat or if they're actually swept in real life. But either way, it's really cool if they are. And I gotta say, the plane just feels and flies a little different than what we've had in the size class. My only complaint in flight performance is that you do have to work to get a greasy landing, like hard. And I say that is a complaint, but it's also just kind of a cool factor thing for me because there's a lot of planes that are very easy to fly out there. And every one of them that's easy to fly, they don't all have to be easy to fly, I guess is what I'm getting at. That's the easiest way to say it. So you do have to work at it to get a beautiful greasy landing. And I think part of it is that they have capable landing gear, but they're capable to the extent that you can't quite take off from tall grass. But you can take off from this sort of stuff all day long, no problem, where you've got kind of like a wet beat down path, or like up there where we've got some traffic patterns worn into the alfalfa field and grass hay field there. You should be able to take off and land no problem. But as soon as you have grass, it's gonna get caught up in it, even though you have huge clearance for the prop, which by the way, the paddle prop is exactly like it would be on the real one. And that is a very big, very aggressive prop, which is part of the reason why this thing sucks life out of your battery. It uses a lot of power, I think. For being a relatively small plane, it will go through a 450 in like 10, 12 minutes, but it'll go through a 300 right there in like about 10 minutes if you're conservative, 8 minutes if you really push it, in my opinion, okay? I've had some good flight times, and that's enough for me. I feel like that's reasonable. I just kind of wish that we could get a little bit more juice out of it. Now, that being said, there is an adapter now that you can get that takes an EC3 and brings it down to an EC2. But we've also had them for a while that will bring them down to JST. So I would have liked to see this plane have an EC2 connector instead of having the equipped JST. I feel like we'd get more current handling if we did that. But at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. If you really want to have higher current handling, you can put an XT30 on there without dealing with the data line, because there is no data line on a JST, okay? And very happy with the way this plane performs in general. One other complaint, and this could be just because of our product sample, this light has gone a little bit dim on us. Okay, it's not burned out. And we always point these things out when we do these reviews. It's not because we're trying to pick and choose. You know, we're not trying to pick apart a model that has like a design flaw, but we want you guys to understand our real experience, okay? Horizon has been very good to us over the years, and so we really appreciate Horizon. And we want to put our best foot forward for our audience though first, and that's who we answer to, is our audience. Even if we have a problem with a product from Horizon, we're going to mention it. Doesn't mean we're going to beat them up, just like we wouldn't on any of the other competitive offerings that we cover. But truth is, this thing had a couple of different things that left you scratching your head, namely the fact that there was no leading edge slats that were active. Now, understandably, this is a small plane. It would have been really hard to implement such a complex wing type, but it would have been so freaking cool, okay? And I think everybody watching this video wishes we had that. Now, does it need it in this size? No, but you don't need flaps and you don't need a plane this size, okay? Because, well, I mean, some of us need it, but we don't need it, right? We're not gonna die without it. But if we're gonna have this plane, it would have been really, really cool. Even if it was just a cheat, you know, where it just lean or something. My guess is they tried it and it actually decreased the performance a lot. Every time I've tried to add leading edge slats on a plane in any way, they always deteriorate the performance of the plane. Full scale does not always translate well to small scale and vice versa. It just depends on the objective. These big flaps are super effective, but just from a cool factor standpoint, if we ever get a big 2-meter version of this, similar to what we have the Draco, I would be the first to say, I want to see leading edge slats. I don't care if they're fixed together and they come out a little bit together, or if they come out separately like they do in the real one. That's what I really want to see. Because just the wing type, the expression of flight performance change is what I want to experience, okay? That's probably my only real complaint on this. This thing's not a big deal. We have a PSOT sample. That means they've been using it a bunch for testing, and then we get it, okay? So it might have been running for like 100 hours already. We don't know. The other thing too is I gotta say, really, really stout landing gear for being an ultra micro, even though it's not an ultra micro. It's a micro, not an ultra micro. Because if it's ultra micro, it'd be even more micro. But a UMX, an ultra micro extreme, would tend to be a little bit smaller than this. Now this is also markedly over 250 grams, which is annoying even with this pack. And this pack is the smaller of the packs that we've used. With the 450, it's quite a bit over 250. Now, there is room if you must put a remote ID module in there so you can get away with it, but I would probably not even use the Sky ID on this one, or the Sky. I would just use the cheapo one because you can stuff it in there and it'll fit.
You don't have to worry about plugging it in or
You have to worry about plugging it in. It's gonna be a little awkward to do it because you'll have to take this lid off and you have to run an extension cord forward. If you do that, there are some advantages. It's just quite a bit more expensive. I don't think it's very practical for the average user in this environment, okay? Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it, and I don't want to talk you out of doing something that works for you. You will get the added benefit of some telemetry data that you wouldn't otherwise have, and you do have some telemetry data on this, given that it is an it is a micro, what am I trying to say? It's a multi-purpose brick, but there are 2 servos that are right here, and those servos are what drive the elevator and rudder, I believe. So technically, I don't think there's any servos on the multi-purpose brick, but it's still a receiver. So I don't know if that qualifies as a multi-purpose brick. So I actually didn't see the multi-purpose brick on this because you can't really see it in this model.
Pretty well tucked in there.
It's tucked in there really good.
Yep.
So now when you pull off this, there's like a multi-purpose brick on the wing that's a breakout board that goes to all the LED package and the servos, which by the way are very high quality. These things are getting better and they have ball links on everything up to and including this. There's also ball links on both the inboard flaps. The inboard flaps can be adjusted, but you have to pull the wing off. Again, that's one screw and it just slides out. And you've got one connector that's kind of similar to a Hextronics connector for a battery, but it's not a balance lead, okay?
Yep.
So lots of positive things to say. A couple of things that kind of like, it would have been cool to see. But at the same time, I gotta say, I think they did a good job of striking the balance between overdone, way too expensive, and already pretty expensive, because like everything from China is expensive these days.
Yeah.
That being said, like the colors, like the finish, like the prop, like the spinner, like the lighting, like the tires. These are soft, see? But also like the suspension, like the simulated struts, which is super cool. And there's 4 of those, but they are not spring loaded. They just move with the spring-loaded music wire that is the support system for the main gear. Also, the tail wheel is fixed and hard. It does not have any sort of dampening. Probably would help a lot, actually, but they do have a soft tire on here with that oscillation and porpoising on landing. But you know what else would help? Getting a perfect landing every time. Which I'm just going to tell you right now, it is more challenging than you might think with this model, okay? So, couple things to consider too. If Horizon ever really wanted to make a premium upgrade, having the leading edge slat built into another wing that I could purchase and put on here, that's a good idea. Because you could make that without all the engineering costs of the rest of the plane, and all we have to do is actuate it with the flaps, okay? That'd be really cool. So just an idea, if anybody's listening, I kind of doubt you are, but what a cool rendition. Mike Patey, thanks for sharing this with the world. And just as a matter of fact, the thing is absolutely delectable looking. I really enjoy these models because when you're done flying them, which is a great experience, you get to look at them, which is similar but much better than like the SR-71 sort of process, okay? SR-71, you fly it and you're like, oh, thank God I got back to the ground. And then you go put it on the stand and you're like, I don't want to crash that thing, I'm gonna leave it there. This thing's not gonna be like that. You're gonna fly it, you're gonna fly it, you're gonna fly the wings off of it, and you might even need to occasionally fix something. Thank you. You didn't even get them.
I didn't even get it.
So that being said, love this thing. Great job, Horizon. Even those short fallings, if you want to call them that, things that, you know, I'm sure people are thinking, we're going to mention.
Yeah.
Okay. Good ventilation, big motor. What do you have to say?
I was just going to say, when you click on our link, you'll see two different options. The bind and fly, if you already have a transmitter, but there is like an ultimate package that comes with an NX7E, comes with real flight. So if you've been flying on a DXS and you're a couple planes in, and you're ready to upgrade to a programmable transmitter, you can get that bundle, but you can get it as a bind and fly.
Yes.
There's been questions already about pricing and packages and all that.
But keep in mind that when you get the packages from Horizon, they're gonna have limited offerings for those.
Yeah.
So just the bind and fly is where it's at. Okay, that's where it's gonna be. It's not like you're gonna have multiple liveries on this.
Nope.
This is the livery, this is the option. And you're gonna get the same basic plane with it. They just quite literally ship the other stuff out, okay? So it does save you a few bucks, so check it out. When you buy from our links, you support Brian Phillips RC. That's the best way to financially help us with insane projects like this. And also just keep in mind, whatever we're making on this channel is spent already for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So we probably could never catch up, but that's okay because I love this hobby and we want to just reinvest what we earn into this hobby. And so thanks to people like Mike Patey, we get an opportunity to fly this beauty. And so thanks, Mike, for letting us do that. It's a really cool design. Can't wait to see what you got next up your sleeve. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And the only thing I miss on this right now would be some 3D printed bicycles here so that we could fly around with bikes on there like what you've done.
I bet our Playmobil bikes would fit on there. It'd be about the right size. The kids are the ones. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, and by the way, strength, resiliency, this thing is actually a really strong model. So it's not like EPS, thin EPS. It just happens to be strong. And it's not like, you know, your 400 millimeter Warbirds where you can crash them into a wall. If you crash this into a wall, you're going to be buying another one. So follow the links in the video description below if you decide to do that. Also, other ways to support Brian Phillips RC, we've got Patreon for monthly support, PayPal for one-time donations. Then we have YouTube members if you want to be a member, but you don't want to do it through Patreon. And then YouTube super thanks, as well as a PO box if you want to send something. So hopefully we answered all your questions. Hopefully we brought you some value here on Brian Phillips RC today. Leave your comments and questions about Scrappy down below. We'll do our very best to get back to you if we can answer. And again, sorry about the delay in bringing the video, just kind of the way the cookie crumbles when deals are made, okay? So we'll do the best we can to bring it as quick as we can and try to serve you guys, the RC enthusiasts here on Brian Phillips RC. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have questions about other products that we've done in the past, like maybe you want to look into the Draco as well, check out brianphillipsrc.com or bprc.me. Same place, short link, easy to remember, bprc.me. And you can find all the competitive offerings that would be similar in size and style. This would be a General Aviation STOL airplane. This would also be a Horizon Hobby offering, and this would also be an E-flite offering. And so if you look there, you can see the competitive offerings there that are stacking up similar to this.
Yep.
It'll have links to the playlist, not just the video that we did for another particular plane, because there's almost always multiple videos. The Unbox build radio setup may follow directly on small planes though, so full disclosure, keep an eye out for that. And then second thoughts if we've gone back and reevaluated. So hopefully that answers your question, guys, if you haven't already answered it by watching this particular video. So while you're at it, smash the like button and click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe, because you're going to want to be subscribed for all that's right around the corner here on Brian Phillips RC. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. So much more right around the corner. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips, brand new from E-flite. It's the Micro Scrappy. Thanks, Mike Patey, for sharing this with the world. It looks totally cool. Can't wait to get it in the air. We're flying ours on 4S, 300 milliamp hour. Yes, it does come equipped with huge flaps, tons of scale details like these braces here. These braces here, you do have to install those. Takes about 2 minutes. Very easy. Beautiful paddle prop, just like on the real one. And of course, accessible battery hatch from the top, huge brushless motor, as you can see, and you can fit a 450 in here. Full disclosure, we're over 250 grams, so just be aware of it. And look, even the mosquitoes like it. Oh, Mike Patey, I like you even better. I just killed a mosquito on your plane. So beautiful. We're gonna fly it right now. This thing is more or less programmed. You have to set up a basic model. We're gonna do some sacrilege non-grass ops with this thing at first, and then we're gonna switch over and do some more. Camera crew and I are gonna go behind the plane so the shadow doesn't screw up our first shots. Right there, stop. Throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps deployed. Show you the taxiing. Very good taxiing, super tight turning radiuses, wow, and easy controllability. Yes, they are spring loaded. Oh wow, that was 30% throttle. 4S, 300 milliamp hour, and this is the Virgin Maiden, of course. And as you can see, we have some beautiful, very good LEDs because, as you can tell, it's quite bright right now. Absolutely gorgeous looking. And it's quiet, very quiet. Guys, look at that. Beautiful stall turn. It's a little heavy like what we had with the Draco, nothing to write home about. Okay, full landing flaps, doesn't feel bad. It's just got a little bit of weight to it, and it's gonna have even more when I put that bigger battery in there. But I love the speed, guys. Look at the flight envelope. It looks like a real one. Slowing down, full landing flaps. Now look at the rate of turn with the landing flaps. It's so slow. Now let's do some grass ops here. This grass, full disclosure, is being cut by a robot. So as you can see, it's not being cut short enough. Throttle cuts on. I'm gonna go ahead and flip it back over. This is a small plane, okay? So grass ops might be a problem for some of you. Full disclosure, if you have really short golf green grass, you'll have no problems putting it down. Beautiful landing gear. Let's see if we can do that again. Take off flaps this time. And camera crew and I are gonna go to our right just a little bit. There we go, perfect. Trying a different angle for takeoff. I love that I'm flying on such low throttle. I'm literally locked in at like 15 to 20%. I'm gonna try to get the camera crew a shot of it. If you can do that while we're doing passes. Look at this, guys. Look at my throttle stick. It's barely up. It's not even to 50%. Okay, out of the flaps. High efficiency flight envelope here. Now this does not have the dual leading edge slats, and I know we all wanted to see it. Beautiful. I know we all wanted to see it. I wanted to see it. You wanted to see it. Everybody wanted to see it. But I'm just hoping that if we ever get a bigger Scrappy or maybe a Carbon Z Scrappy or something like that, we can go ahead and do that. Okay, take off flaps now, landing flaps. We'll just turn this thing around. We'll try a regular landing this time. Beautiful. Oh, it does the thing that some of our micros like to do, and that is it grabs on those wheels. So I'm gonna full up elevator, see if we can get off. No flaps. Yes, got in the air fine. Yes, definitely needs flaps, okay? So use flaps on takeoff. It's gonna help this thing to respond a little bit better. And definitely a lot of down elevator correction, 13% and 18%. And I feel like it could use a little bit more even. Okay, so just bringing it in here. See if I can get this thing lined up. Oh boy, there it goes. I'm trying to slam it down so you can see those suspension work, but the suspension is evidently just enough, stiff enough that it doesn't really necessarily actually bounce, okay? You notice I'm porpoising just a little bit here because I'm trying to decide between trimming down a little bit on the nose. I'm gonna do a couple of clicks of trim or flaps. I think I'm gonna take a little bit on the flaps here. Okay, so out of the flaps altogether, and we'll just bring it down. Throttle cuts on. We're gonna walk away from that spot. The mosquitoes are getting pretty thick, guys. Okay, camera crew. We're gonna click, we're gonna scroll down, and we are gonna change our flap system. So we are, instead of 13, we're gonna go 16, and instead of 18, we're gonna go 20, okay? So just a small increase, nothing crazy. It is a little bit of a personal preference issue. Full disclosure, when we set up the flaps, we try to start with E-flite settings if we have them. We do have a 5-minute timer set, doesn't matter. We have full telemetry on this, but it isn't a smart pack, so just remember that. So we do have the telemetry showing us the voltage. Okay, so out of throttle, excuse me, out of throttle cut, take off flaps now. We're gonna see how this performs. You guys see what's going on there? It wants to turn really sharp when it's on the ground. Okay, so let's try to land at our feet. Camera crew, be ready to move. Just in case. I wanna bring it around, okay, out of the flaps altogether. I wanna see if we can do it without it veering on us, because I might need to, well, that's pretty dang good. That wasn't bad at all. And that's no flaps, because remember, look how sharp we can turn, folks. That might explain some of the difficulties on takeoff. It's not like a P factor issue. Okay, so take off flaps, get that. See, as soon as I get onto the mains, I'm having trouble. It's like I'm getting that disparity between when the elevator wants to, excuse me, when the rudder wants to come alive and the steerable tail wheel. Okay, so let's see if we can do this with takeoff flaps. I'm finding the most success by just doing 3-point landings. It's feeling pretty good, but then you see what happens as soon as I get up on the mains, it wants to veer. Are you seeing that, or is it just in my head?
No, I agree with you.
Okay, so I want to see if I can fix that. By the way, if you guys see me janking a little bit, it's because these skeeters are getting to me every once in a while, and I'm having to kind of whack them off camera. That was terrible. That was really terrible. See what I'm talking about? You really got to get into it. I wonder if it is that paddle prop that's screwing with us. Once we get the tail wheel up, it just janks it so hard. But it's like I'm barely giving it throttle, like 10%. I want to see if I can get that worked out. Okay. Remember, you got to fly this thing. It takes power to fly, okay? So let's go over here. Let's see if we can get by the normal flight area. I got to say, it flies super easy once you're in the air. You got to keep flying it, though. It will stall on you. So don't be surprised if that happens. Camera crew, sorry about the sun. We're going to get over to our normal kind of flying envelope here. Right there's good.
Okay.
I'm going to come at an angle here. Take off flaps. Now landing flaps, here we go. Out of the throttle, full up on the elevator. And see, once you're on the ground, it's just super easy to control. Well, what the heck? Where have you been all my life, landings? Let's see if we can do it again. Whoa! Oh man, I about put down on the 3-inch clearing. About 5 steps forward, please. More, thank you. Ah, dang it, okay. All right, so we're gonna start again here. That was pretty good, but you can see it's just rolling to the left. I wonder if it's just a trim issue. I'm gonna try doing a little bit of trim to the right with the rudder only. Okay, so now it's favoring to the right. Oh, I did too much. And then I'm gonna land and I'm gonna see if it does better. Okay, full landing flaps now. Could be also a disparity in flaps. Keep that nose pointed down. Bang, man. That thing just like, it gets to a spot where it just falls, guys. Okay, so take off flaps. Now we're lined up, rolling into the throttle. See, as soon as I lift it up, it janks over. I wanna look at something physically, guys. Full landing flaps, there it is. I love that bounce. Okay. Also, I wanted to point out one thing. Scrappy does not have strike protection on the wings, even though it does on the real plane. I don't know why we didn't get those, because we have them on Draco and Micro Draco, as well as the full-size Draco. I don't know why they're not on here. I don't have an explanation for that. But what I'm looking at now is I want to see if there is a disparity in that trim. And it does look like this wheel is kicked just a little bit down from the actual rudder. Are you in agreement on me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so the only way I know to fix that would be to either make the tail wheel, yeah, you can see really good from that angle. You guys see that? Mm-hmm. I think that's what's going on. I bring it up and then it wants to veer. And it's really intense and I can't overwhelm it. I think what I wanna do is I wanna pull off the rudder one. And so in order to do this, I'm gonna lay down my transmitter, and you guys hopefully won't have to do this, but I'm having to do it. I wanna see if I can pop this off just with my fingernail. Okay, pop it off. Okay, so now that it's off, I'm trying to pull this rudder over that way, which means I need to suck it in a little bit by spinning it, okay? So in order to spin it, I have to brace it, which means I probably have to get down like this, hold the plane on my knee, and then I can hold this shaft. Okay, see how it's stuck between all this crap? I'm pulling it in, so I have 3 fingers on it, and I'm gonna go 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4, okay? And I'm doing all this while I'm out in the field, while we're filming. I'm gonna stick my pinky under there, and I'm gonna snap it back on. Now that looks really symmetrical, okay? So guys, if you couldn't see in the video, just take my word for it. I wanna see if that alleviates my concern, because I guarantee you what's going on is my trim is fine. It's that as soon as that tail gets up, it just jerks. So once we make them agree, then it should be fine. Okay, so throttle cut is off, takeoff flaps deployed. No, it just veers even, just like before. So it's like as soon as you lift that wheel, you have to be prepared. Whoa! Unless my left wheel is bound up. Let's check that now, okay? One thing that's nice about not having leading edge slats is you can pick this thing up. Okay, so this could be veering. Doesn't feel any more bound than any other plane I've ever had. And by the way, these are some sweet looking landing gear, but I'm still not sure if that's contributing to the problem, if maybe it's splaying out and allowing it to drag us with the toe out, or what. But the other thing I could do is I could just go a little bit more, because it's veering to the left. So that means I would need the rudder to pull in a little bit more. So I'm just gonna try that one more time. I did 2 full turns, right? Or 2 half turns?
2
full turns.
Because you have to like 4, yeah.
So I'm gonna take this back off. Throttle cut is on, guys. Throttle cut's on. This is probably gonna be the second flight you guys see, because we try not to show all of the adjustments and everything in order like this. But I wanna, now that I popped it off, I'm gonna put it on my foot. I'm gonna hold this here, 3 fingers, and then I need to pull this over, so I wanna spin it in. So I'm like turning the volume knob up. Okay, so there's 1 half, there's, gosh, that's awkward. There's 2 halves, there's 3 half turns, there's 4 half turns, okay? And you see it's not wanting to spin, probably because I'm getting deeper penetration into that actual plastic apparatus, because once you actually have that shaft go all the way through, it's gonna bottom out, okay? There we go. So we're clipped back on. So step back, please. Thank you. All right, so my first step is gonna be, I wanna get this thing to be able to lift the tail and go straight down the pipe, okay? Because then I can do the things I wanna do with this plane, which are fly it, drag out my landings, all that good stuff. So throttle cut's off. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we show the whole process because we wanna teach you how to do it. Okay. Oh, a lot better, a lot better. A little bit of input was still required. I'm in takeoff flaps now, full disclosure. We'll do a pass by just because I can't get by it. Okay, so I'm gonna go a couple clicks. Yoo-hoo! I clicked the wrong one. I was clicking my ailerons there on that turn.
Oh.
But I wanna try again, okay guys? So here we go. We're gonna get up on the mains now. Up on the mains. Oh yeah! You guys see what I'm talking about? That's what I wanted. By the way, there is a very distinct point where this plane will fly and then you can stall, and there's a very distinct point where it's got plenty of power. I'm at 25 to 30% now, full landing flaps. Now watch this thing. You have to fly that in under power. Out of power, full up on the elevator, and she feels really nice and symmetrical now. Watch this, guys. On the mains, oh, a little bit of veer, and then I turned into a sharp right-hand turn. I'm just gonna warn you, if you get sharp on this thing too early, you're gonna crash. And it is a beautiful plane. You don't wanna crash. By the way, fully painted body looks gorgeous. Oh, safe. Okay, so safe has mixing and differential. I'm gonna just show you safe real quick. I do have takeoff flaps out. As you can see, when I let go of the sticks, the plane automatically levels. It's gonna somewhat coordinate your turns for you. It's gonna help keep you away from stalls, but it's not a full coordination, so you do have to still coordinate a little bit. And as you can see, it's flying pretty good. I'm giving it a little bit more stick input than I would like to have to. I'm holding the nose down just a hair. Not a huge deal, but it's definitely not nothing. Okay. So now remember, safe is sensor assisted flight envelope. So I'll do a safe landing here for you. Of course, it's probably gonna be the best one all day. So we'll just slow it down, about 10%, pull up on the elevator. There's your safe landing, nice and bouncy wouncy, but it did okay. I gotta say, this plane just carries a little bit more weight than you're probably anticipating. So out of safe, back into AS3X, we're gonna take back off, and then I'm probably gonna try it with a bigger battery, and we'll probably reset. But I wanna see if we've got this thing nibbed in the butt. Take off flaps now. Roll in the power, get that tail up. Look how gorgeous that is now. That's what I wanted, folks. That's what I wanted, and it was worth it. So if yours comes out of the box and it's pulling when you get into takeoff setup, that's what's going on. Get your rudder matched up with your steerable tail wheel. Don't forget to land in power. You need it. You need to land in power. I'm 50% throttle, just under 45%, now 50, now 60. Now watch that thing. Look how on the edge it is. Plop it. Boom, right there. She sits down right where you want her. Now there is no thrust reverse on this, and I'm a little disappointed to see that, but you know what? Now that I've got the thing so I can taxi like that and then pop it up wherever I want. Ooh, I am low on power. Stay where you are. Critically low. I'm gonna actually go out a little bit further, but this thing needs power, so don't go critically low too early. Full landing flaps now, and there it is. Oh, and keep in mind, you know what it is, throttle cuts on. You know why it dives? Because we have so much elevator correction. Check this out, guys. This is what's going on. I'm gonna turn that back. I'm gonna do 17. I'll do 18 and I'll do 17. I know it seems ridiculous, but I'm gonna tell you, this plane has just got a little different tendencies in the flaps than I've seen previously. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna save all those details so you can see where I left them, 17 and 18. I don't probably have enough juice to really fly because I'm gonna just show you on this one. Okay, throttle cuts out, just watch this. I'm gonna taxi, watch that thing suck down. When I give it throttle, it just goes right down, okay? So non-smart pack, there's no balancing. It's gonna sag those cells when they get low. This one's low. So far, our flight time says 12 minutes over 5, but we were on the ground for a few minutes. We were adjusting that rudder mechanical trim, and we do have a little bit of trim in there. I didn't really think I needed the trim on this. It was one click. I had not cleared it back to normal. I meant to put it over here. So we got a little bit of trim on the rudder, and we have a little mechanical trim on the rudder, as well as the changes to the flap system, okay? So not too bad for a brand new plane, but it is a little bit unusual to have to make so many adjustments out of the box. Camera crew's gonna hold this for just a moment. Throttle cut is on. And this is what we were flying with, 304S. It's got a JST end and then a balance lead. This is non-smart. You can also fit physically a 450, but it comes with, and this is a 454S, it comes with this is an IC2 connector, so you have to have an adapter to get you back to JST. I would have really, really, really rather seen an IC2, or to be honest, just an XT30, just anything to get away from JSTs. These high current loads, I don't trust the JST. JST is definitely better than micro PH, but IC2 is way better than JST in my opinion, because JST pins are small. Okay, that being said, we're gonna go ahead and swap batteries, and then we will lead off with this flight real quick, you suppose? Or do you wanna go with the stock pack again?
I think so. We'll probably switch batteries to the bigger.
Or do you wanna go to stock? Let's start with stock again.
Okay,
so camera crew's gonna pause, we'll swap, and come right back. YouTube, we're gonna open this box right now. All new from E-flite, it's the Micro Scrappy 800. We're gonna see what's inside the box. You guys are seeing this video shortly after its release. We can't share our information right away just because of the licensing. So if you guys are curious about the delays, then ask E-flite about that, and they'll help you understand. All right, here it is. This is not an ultra micro, it is a micro. There's a difference. Scrappy is a Mike Patey product. And so you can see right here, they called it a skill level 2. And it comes in a relatively big box for being what would be understood to be kind of a small plane, and that it's a micro. And this is modeled after his full scale Scrappy, which he designed, and it holds bicycles on it and different things, and it's pretty cool. This is the predecessor to the Draco, which is now deceased in real life. The full-scale plane was crashed in an accident, crosswind takeoff gone wrong. So this is Mike's answer to that. So we're excited to be involved with the release a month late. All right, here it is. We've got information on top, it looks like, manual. So check out the links in the video description below if you want to buy one. This one's already been cut because we have a product sample, an early product sample. And the product samples go through some testing and then they ship them out to us. And so that's why they're repacked. Now, full disclosure, this plane is going to be able to go back in the box, but it's kind of weird. The flap was moving. I thought maybe it was broke free. It's not. There's linkages here, and there is, I think those things can be twisted on and off or in and out to make up for fine adjustments. And long throw linear servos here for the ailerons. They are a modified pinch hinge, as you can see. And the only thing that this looks different from the real full-scale Scrappy is it looks like they took the design of the wing from the Draco, and I'm not sure exactly why they did that, but I'm sure they had reasons for doing it. It's not identical, by the way. So Mike might have changed his plane because I was looking at videos of the Scrappy and he has a flat wing tip, and this one has this finish like that. The other thing that's unique to the Scrappy is it has a double, I believe it's like a double leading edge slat. So there is no leading edge slat on this particular model. Looks like there's ball links here to hook into the wing struts. So we'll see how that integrates to the model here pretty quick. Of course, here on Brian Phillips RC, we try to bring you guys the latest and greatest of RC, and we want to do it in such a way that you can see the full truth and nothing but the truth. So help us God. And we say that all the time because there's a lot of RC influencers online that will just tell you whatever they think you want to hear. In our case, we show it the way it is. This looks really good. It looks like it's basically big enough that there's some scale details like these shocks. These shocks, by the way, don't really do anything. I think it's the mechanical, it's just the music wire that actually does stuff. That thing is tied on with like a wire though. It looks like the wire goes into the top. I'm not sure exactly the rationalization for these fairings. These are like wings, almost like a canard. It's very interesting. But then steerable tail wheel, which is good. And it's got an actuated point here, but I don't know if that's actually spring. I don't think that's spring loaded, it's just simulated. But this is all plastic here, okay? Ball link into the center. We've got wing struts that are made of what appears to be carbon fiber. And so this is modeled after a Cubby, put a huge engine in it. So it's a little bit different setup, and move the tank around and stuff like that. I remember watching some of the videos when he was building it. It's a very beautiful plane. It's also huge. Okay, so which way does this go? Okay, so that comes up from the front and then it pulls out like that. And a very big brushless motor. You can see right there the size. And then it's got a JST plug on it, which is for putting in the battery. Okay, and then this is the multi-purpose brick with externally mounted long throw linear servos here, and then this is the link that goes up to the wing. So ours is kind of tangled up a little bit with that yellow cable, so I'm assuming that yellow cable is just the light package up in the nose, so you want to be careful about that. There's also a nut zert that's glued in here and then goes across and really bears a lot of that mechanical load. There's some plastic inserted here to help with strength. So this is definitely a lot more sturdy than what you're gonna see on most of the Ultra Micros. It's got a lot of structural rigidity, but that also is gonna equate to some extra weight. Okay, so what else is in the box? It looks like we have one bag that's got some, a little piece of Velcro for the battery, and then there's a long screw. Of course, that's gonna be for the wing, and then the wing struts, which are metal, it looks like. And then of course the manual. So we'll be able to explore the manual here in a minute. And just before we get too far, I wanna pull out this package. There's nothing on the bottom, so we should be good. Now this is not a ready to fly. This is what we would call a bind and fly basic, which means that you're gonna get the model itself and you're gonna get the receiver, but you have to provide your own battery and you have to provide your own transmitter. So in our case, we're gonna be using our NX10, which is standard. You could use as low as like an NX7 if you want. An NX6 would probably work, but we're gonna find out here shortly and see exactly what it takes, but we don't even know what battery it uses yet, so we'll depend on the manual to figure that out. But I think what we're gonna do first is we'll just go ahead and get the assembly done. It should be relatively easy assembly. The sun is beating in over there, so we're gonna move down to the end. Camera crew is gonna go over there. All right, so as you guys know, I'm Brian Phillips RC. We start from the box and we take it all the way into the air, but we do show the process out of order most of the time, and that's because of the nature of what we do on this channel. We wanna show people what they wanna see, which is the maiden flights typically. But in order to get to the maiden flights, you gotta have the build done. And then in order to have the build done, you gotta figure out the radio setup, especially on a bind and fly. And we're gonna help get it done. Okay, so first step, we gotta figure out which one's which. There's two of them and they have a little bit of a bend in them. So I'm assuming that's gonna be a telltale sign that's gonna help us figure out which one's which. So I'm certain they're gonna drop in here. I'm just not certain which one's gonna be which. I'm gonna hold these together like chopsticks. I'm assuming I'm gonna have to hold those together like chopsticks. Drop it down into that opening and then slide it back. Or you know what? Does it even slide back? Yes, it does. I'm only doing that first because I think it might be easier than putting it on the wings first. Because once it's on the wing, you got to do that with this thing attached. It's going to be quite difficult, I believe. So you can see this one's also got that bend in it, but it's wanted to walk over the curl there. So I'm having to kind of straighten my wire to pop it back to the central position. And same thing here. Now that's curved, going in an upward configuration. So you guys see that? How it's kind of like going up to the wing. I'll hold this up. It's gonna be kind of a pain to do in the field, but I don't think most people are gonna take this thing apart. One of the things that's customary on ultra micros, oh, look at that though. I've got one backward and one right, it looks like. Or maybe it's not, maybe it's just the way they're laying. Looks like you could do it either way. Must be symmetrical. But look at the way it sits. It's like one is sitting further back. I just want to make sure that they were lined up because I was getting nervous. Maybe I put one on upside down. Doesn't look like I did. Now, the only other thing in this bag that we need to be concerned about is this piece of Velcro, which would be used for the LiPo. So we'll get to that eventually, if we even touch it. And then we have this one screw, which just happens to be a Phillips screw, which that really ought to be a hex drive if you ask me. Reason it should be a hex drive is it's going to be a lot easier to drive. You don't have as much pressure you have to apply on a hex drive. Something like that, you know, like a 1.5 millimeter would have been probably ideal. But we'll go ahead and use a Phillips screw. Not the end of the world. And so right here you can see we've got the only plug that you have to do, and then all the breakout boards are taken care of. All the LEDs, there's a piece of foam, double-sided foam tape that goes out and covers it up. Looks pretty serviceable, which is nice. Flap servo is big or bigger than the aileron servos, it looks like, or at least they used a black frame around the linkages and stuff. So my suggestion is you plug this in however you can get it plugged in. It's keyed, so it only goes one way, and if you get it wrong, it won't fit. Very distinct click. You can definitely tell it's on. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna twist that, half a twist, and just get this into the front. You see that goes into that pocket of reinforcement here where my index finger is touching. It's gonna slide in and then drop down. Pretty simple process. I'd be surprised if you can't figure it out without help. But we do show the entire process here on Brian Phillips RC. Now I just need to find a screw. So we've got this screw, it's about about an inch or so long, maybe an inch and a quarter. And I'm just gonna hold this cradle of the plane and drop that in. And then I'm gonna get myself a Phillips number, let's do a 4mm and see if that works. Now that dropped down nicely into the nutser, it should be no problem. And then there's a nice big plastic piece to actually receive and pull that down. And now as you can see, this is why I want a hex drive, because it's wanting to skip. Well, the problem is with the foam plane, you can't press super, super hard. So I'm gonna cradle underneath directly, and then I'm gonna turn it until it's snug. And it is quite snug now, okay? So now that we have Scrappy mostly assembled, I can flip this around. Obviously, Scrappy has that huge paddle style prop, so it's cool to see that. Nice scale detail. Of course, it's gonna make it really difficult if you break it to get a replacement. You're gonna have to have a replacement if you need it. Okay, it's not like you're just gonna put any prop on there. Okay, so these are screw style, so you can make up for small adjustments. I hope you can see that up against my finger now. So I'm just gonna snap this on here. And I'm gonna snap this one on here. Ooh, feels like it's maybe not gonna make it. That's pulling really hard. I wonder if I just picked the wrong side. Like if there's a front and a back. That would be really annoying. Well, I'm gonna undo this one a little bit. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the front one. See, it's not wanting to reach. So I wonder if there is actually a forward and a backward. Let's see if this one does it. That one seems a little bit more like it's going to reach, but you'll notice what just happened. These are both easily reaching.
But then that one's
bent. So there's gotta be some trick to this. And it kind of reminds me of the SE5. Is that what it is, the SE5?
The biplane?
The SE5A, or whatever it was. Yeah, they had some wing struts that were kind of awkward like this.
Well, it seemed like your back ones on both sides were too long and the front ones were too short. So, maybe
so does that mean I
have them backwards?
But I can't tell if I need to take this out and just put it in the other way. So let's say I take it out and I flip it over. Then that would be the right way. But then that seems to me like this would be in upside down. So if that's the case, and then this one would need to go over here, okay?
Okay.
And then this one would need to come out, so it's all disconnected. I'm gonna pull this out of the bracketry. Okay, then I'm gonna flip this over and go to the other side. So that way this still goes up. So there's a 50-50 shot, you're gonna get it right. I just can't believe they're not marked if that's true. And what do you know? Perfect fit. Yep, perfect fit. And then you can see the brace. The brace is going to then actually be a mechanical brace, okay? Instead of being under tension, it's under compression. Or it was under compression, now it's gonna be under tension, which is what we want for that type of bracing. Okay, well, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do with it, but. Okay, so that's slipped in. Let's see if this one goes. Oh yeah, yep, it does. Okay, so you can see it's kind of got like a little bent to it there. So it goes backward. And then when this is under heavy wing loading, if you will, it should pull those tight and keep everything nice and straight. Looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, really, really nice looking. The tail wheel looks awesome. The mains look great. Look at these mains. Get over here. Squishy, look at that. Like really nice soft tires. They almost feel pneumatic, but I know they're not. They're just a foam. But then back here, same thing here. We've got a nice, squishy, real soft foam, which I like that. That's beautiful. And it's like they're taking all the different lessons we've learned on the micros and they're applying them. It's just such a unique plane. It's a little bit of unusual plane. Similar to what the Draco was, but the Scrappy is just a whole nother thing. So I think it actually looks a little bit less weird than the Draco. I love the Draco, but isn't it the Wiggler or the Wiggler? I always say it wrong.
Yeah. Wiggler, I think that's right.
The Wiggler. So this one is going to be requiring a battery now, and a battery is going to be listed in the manual. So we got to get the manual out. Oh, might also say it on the outside, but we'll go ahead and just go with what the manual says. Now, on previous Ultra Micros, we were using 2S batteries, and they had micro pH connectors. Thankfully, we've gotten away from those largely, and now we're into JST or EC2 connectors, which a lot of people gripe about the EC2 connectors, and I kind of do too, to the same certain extent. The only thing is they carry a heck of a lot more current than a JST, or at least I believe they could, even if it's not like something we do it a lot of times. Okay, so let's just get this tape off of here so we don't have a problem with the paperwork when I pull it out. There we go. All right, so they got a little save 15% coupon. Okay, here we go, guys. Let's put this out of the way. All right, so the micro Scrappy, this is the manual. One of the things we like a lot about E-flite is that they do include somewhat of a standardized manual. They do a good job of keeping things relatively straightforward, and it's all located on one page. With these micros, you would think there might be a lot of setup, but there just really is not a lot of setup on most of the micros. For instance, on the Draco, on the micro Draco, the lighting feature is so much simpler than the lighting feature on the big Draco. So there's virtually no special radio setup. So if you guys are brand new to the hobby and you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. You can just disregard that. But this should set up like a standard plane. The only difference, of course, is going to be that it's modeled after a super amazing STOL aircraft. If you don't know what STOL is, it stands for short takeoff or landing. And of course, Mike Patey is involved with, his family owns and operates Best Hugs. And then they do a lot of search and rescue. And so that's how they got into this stuff. And they have helicopters and airplanes and things like that. Mike Patey has a cool channel on YouTube. If you want to follow him, check him out, Mike Patey on YouTube. His brother, actually, I follow his brother also on Instagram too, which is Mark Patey. So anyway, all right, so registration here on page 3, we're looking, this talks about the different things that we need to know. And the flight battery is a 4S 300 milliamp hour 30C pack. Now, full disclosure, that one is 4S 300 milliamp hour. So I think that's the same as what we used in the Draco, right?
I think so. It says you can also use a 3S 300 is the optionally listed size.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know, but at the same time, I'm looking through my batteries and I'm seeing a 3S 300 milliamp hour here, but I honestly, I cannot find currently my 4S. There's a 3S 300, but I know we have one, so we're gonna pause, we'll find it and come right back. Okay guys, I was on the wrong shelf. They're right here. These are the 450 4Ss. 450 4Ss. And then this one is actually the 4S 300. Okay, so I'm kind of hoping we can also go up to the 450 size packs, but they might have been trying to hit a weight limit. So let's check that right now. I know you guys are probably a little bit concerned about sub 250 status. For some of us that matters, some others probably not a big deal, but sub 250 status is going to keep us away from having to worry about remote ID. Okay, so this is big. I'm gonna just try this real carefully. I'm gonna just put my nose on there. Oh yeah, we're gonna be over 250. Yeah, 30, yeah. We're gonna be over 250, 268, okay. So we're not even close, we're way over. And that's fine, that's just the way it is. We're gonna have to understand this thing would, if you wanna just fly it anywhere, just make sure you get your remote ID. For instance, if you're filming on an airstrip, you might wanna use a remote ID. That being said, if you're in a FRIA, you don't have to worry about that. Most of your clubs, if they're in a CBO and they have FRIA status, then the FAA recognized identification area means that you don't have to use identification, because the FAA, which is an acronym, is in FRIA, an acronym within an acronym, which has a mouthful, and it's also backward of what it should mean. But that's okay. I didn't make the rule. I just tell you guys about it as little as possible to get the job done. Okay, so 300 milliamp hour, 4S, and that's going to match exactly what they suggest. So we will link to the suggested battery. Now, because we're over the weight limit, and this is why I was thinking we wouldn't need this Velcro, because I've taken and built these little straps that go around batteries, because I hate putting Velcro on these. It always seems to be in the wrong spot when I do that, okay? So what I like to do is I like to be able to then use this and reposition the battery as such, okay? If I was gonna use Velcro or whatever, this is gonna have to go lengthwise, of course, but I found that a lot of times you can use those wires to help trap the battery in these smaller aircraft. Just be careful. There are a few of these aircraft where you have to be really careful not to get into where the motor is, because this motor is not gonna have like a shaft sticking through, like where my middle finger, the pad of my middle finger is, and it's gonna touch. No, there's nothing there. Some of them do have a little area there where you could get exposed and it could create a dangerous condition where you could touch the lead, potentially get it really hot, or maybe have a friction point and catch that thing on fire, melt the wire. So just be careful about that. Okay, so in order to set up this plane, we have to build a profile, or we have to bind to it and see if the profile pulls out of it. I don't know if they've set that up on this particular model or not, so we're gonna find out right now. In order to find out, I'm sort of torn. Do we just make a basic profile and see if it asks the question? I think that's probably what we're gonna do. And you may also notice that I didn't check this charge. So if you guys are brand new to the hobby, you don't know how to charge a battery like this, full disclosure, it looks like it's a smart battery, but it's not. This is just a dumb battery that's wrapped by Spectrum orange and black, okay? So I'll show you how to charge real quick, and then the one that's in the plane, we'll just leave in the plane for now. We'll just turn on the S2200. It's got a little bigger screen. You wouldn't have to use an S2200. You could use an S155 or even smaller or something totally different. And so in order to charge a JST, since that's the balance or discharge, this is the balance, this is the discharge, we're gonna have to have some sort of an adapter to go into the IC3 or the IC5, okay? So in order to do that, we use this particular adapter, which works really handy. It's a JST adapter that goes from IC3 to JST. We'll plug that in, populates the screen with the voltage, which happens to be 16.3 right now, okay? Then flip this over, it's keyed, slide it in. You can see the voltages. I'm gonna press and hold, go up, change my current from 3.2, remember this is a dumb pack, to 3, and hit start. And then it's gonna track how many milliamp hours get forced into the battery during this charge sequence. Now keep in mind, this is a small battery, and it's a high quality battery, but it's not a smart pack, okay? So a smart battery is gonna have a smart circuit in it. And so you don't get really into the smart circuits until I believe you get up to 850s. There might have been a 600 as well that had a smart battery, but it takes up like this much circuitry. And so they just get a little bit too big and too weighty. So there is kind of a balancing act. Now, if you don't know what that smart circuit looks like, I'm gonna just give you one real quick example of what that battery management circuit looks like. This out of course, a failed battery that was dead. I think it might have been a 1300 3S. And you can see it's 3S because there's 4 wires there. Okay, so the most positive being here, the most negative being here. And then this little battery management chip actually handles it. Now this is a Gen 1 because it has the balance lead. If it was a Gen 2, this would be a little bit darker orange, and then this would not have the balance lead as well because we would just handle it through the data line, which it still has the data line. That's what this extra line is. So that's actually mounted inside the battery on a smart battery, and that's why you don't have to worry about the balancing. You can actually charge without it because it will self-balance. And it's also gonna auto discharge if you have the feature turned on, which it's on by default to 72 hours. I usually turn mine up to 240 hours, so it keeps charged for about 10 days. And then of course you can monitor charge cycles, serial numbers, and things like that. So it's kind of handy to have that info, but I don't find myself using it largely, okay? I use the auto discharge is the only thing I really care about, and it makes the biggest difference for me in what we do because we manage so many batteries, okay? So the double-edged sword is when you have an unmanaged battery, it's gonna be allowed to draw down its own voltage, which is fine because you're gonna have that even on a smart battery. The difference is it's gonna stay charged and the chemistry will be more unstable at 4.2 or beyond, which would be very bad, than it will be at 3.8 or 3.9 just because the amplitude of current that's stored inside of there, chemically, it's less stable. So you want to store it at charge level, or excuse me, at storage level, so that you can keep and maintain the best chemistry and balance, okay? Otherwise, the internal resistance on the batteries goes up and it just leads to problems. All right, so next step for us is to actually set up the model, the profile, and for that you can flip one more page. It's gonna talk about how to actually put this stuff in. Looks like we did do that correctly. We did stick the screw in the A-hole, that's always handy. And what we're gonna do is this manual is not opened wide enough to even read the inboard portion. You see that? Now I can read it. NX series transmitter setup. They have it in a sequential order, and they show like the flap system setup, throttle cut. They're talking about the expo levels. I'll show you what I'm gonna do. Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. So we'll just do that right now. We're probably not gonna be downloading anything from the plane because it's gonna be set up and done. Okay, so we're gonna power on. It should go to the latest planes. I think it's like the Avios glider or whatever we did recently. And so once it fires up, now keep in mind ours starts a little slower than some because we have like many, many more models than you're supposed to have. So I'm gonna cancel them back, go to add new model. Okay, so we're gonna create an acro. So once we click, it's gonna take a second to think. And of course, this is gonna be the Scrappy 800 millimeters. So we're gonna name it first. And then once we get it named, we'll continue the setup. But we do have to build a profile in order to store and operate on the transmitter. And then the profile is the intermediary between the model and this, or the receiver in this case, and the transmitter, okay? So model select, model type, we've already set model name. This is where we type it in. So it says 249, airware is supposed to crash at 250. We'll see, hasn't crashed yet. And we have about 100 more set in a different time period that came from NX6, NX8, NX8, NX10 is where we are now. So we're gonna type that in and come right back. All right, so we got the name typed in, Scrappy 800 millimeters. So we'll just hit back. Aircraft type, we'll verify those. It's just a normal wing type, except that we have flaps. So one aileron, one flap. And then we'll select an image, probably find the Cub. Yeah, let's do this one, okay. And then we'll go back to flight mode setup. Now, it doesn't say anything about flight modes here, but I'm just gonna tell you this right now. We're gonna use flight modes because that's how we set them up on our other models. So I'll just do this real quick. So we'll set it to switch D. You don't have to do the flight modes this way, but I'm just gonna do it so I can make my names for AS3X off and then safe, okay? So safe, of course, is sensor assisted flight envelope. It's gonna auto level the plane. Let go of the sticks, it's gonna go level and just keep gliding straight forward. You go to this, it'll turn off the AS3X, which is the stabilizer. And then you turn this on, this will be AS3X, artificial stabilization 3-axis, which is helps to resist impact of environmental impact like wind and thermals and things like that. As well as bounce it along on the ground. When you aren't indicating to move and it moves, it's gonna resist that movement. That also is active in safe, in addition to the auto leveling. But we'll show you how to do that right now. So obviously the name, this is just a title. I'm gonna call it AS3X. So I'm gonna scroll that in real quick. And you guys may notice too that as I'm scrolling, if you watch any recent videos, we were having all sorts of trouble scrolling, and I just kind of went to town and cleaned the scrolly wheel again with alcohol, and it did a really good job this time. But one thing we've noticed on these NX series is that eventually this gets kind of like clunky and weird, and if you're having trouble, just get out the isopropyl alcohol, medical grade alcohol, shut this all down and clean that really good, roll it around a bunch. Maybe use a paper towel or two. You'll be surprised you have black stuff coming off of it. It's a little bit gross, but once you get it clean, let it dry real good, and then you should be good to go. So AS3X mode. Okay, so then continuing along, highlight the first character, cancel, cancel, then type the letters OFF, like off. Now, sometimes we can't turn the feature off, and if we can't, then I'll just change it to AS3X mode as well. But again, this one, we make it say an audio event that says off. And you wouldn't have to do any audio events. You don't even have to label these things, but I just do it because it's a good exercise how to run the system. So we have AS3X mode, then we have off, and then we're gonna have this one's gonna be highlight, cancel, cancel. Then it's gonna be safe for sensor assisted flight envelope. And what that means is auto leveling. If you guys are new to the hobby, auto leveling is a big deal. When you're brand new to the hobby, you probably don't even recognize that the plane, when you let go of the sticks, finds the nearest tree or your head or a building or the garbage can, and it heads directly to it. With safe, it just levels the wings. There's safe mode. Off. Okay, so now keep in mind, those are just labels. They don't really actually do any of the settings, but we'll show you how to do that later, okay? So now channel assign. At some point, we're gonna have to make an assignment for that channel. My guess is it's gonna be as though it were the gear switch. So we're just gonna set it to switch D now, and that's gonna be assigned to channel 5, which would normally be gear, and that's where a lot of times they hide that function. Now also, I like to use Bravo B switch, which is right here for flaps, so I'm gonna go ahead and disassociate that so I can make the assignment later, and I'm gonna disassociate the sliders because we don't need those, and I also don't need the right knob or the rotary knob. These sliders will just beep at the center of sticks, the center of range, as you're flying or as you're using your transmitter otherwise, even though you don't have anything attached to them if you leave it on in that mode. So I always shut that off. Okay, then I'm gonna walk out to regular function list. That means that we're in RF is turned on. That's why this orange light just came on. That's also the power button on an NX series, or most of them. And that's why it's printed above there. You press and hold that, it shuts off, and then that orange light goes off. You do get warnings on the newer firmware. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna do rates and expo. I like to set all mine to the switch. This is gonna be a deviation from the manual. Full disclosure, this is what they suggest. Step 7, 8, and 9. We're gonna do it my way, okay? So my way is gonna be 5%, then 10, and we're gonna start in 10. And then if we want more, we can double it to 20 with a rate reduction down to 90, okay? So we're gonna start here. We'll have a halving effect on that, so it'll be more sensitive up here because we're using less expo. Remember, the amplitude of expo, as you increase, it deadens the stick. So as you move this, you can barely see a differentiation in that straight line. But then when I go up here, you can see it gets curvier because that's because the output factor is less at the center of the stick. So we say it softens the sticks, okay? So we want to start there in the middle ground. We have a doubling effect and we have a halving effect. Now you can soften the sticks with expo without giving up maximum rate, but then I drop it 10% on the higher limit just in case we have trouble getting it to the ground. Okay, so we do that on all three of the same switch ties. So we do it the same exact way. We tie it to the same switch. And why do we do that? Because to be honest with you, I almost never have to change this. If I didn't do it, it probably wouldn't matter. I probably wouldn't notice. It's probably not that big a deal. But again, this is more of like teaching you guys how to do it. And I use the same setup on like 99% of my planes, never having changed it. Every once in a while, I have a plane that's kind of acting squirrely and I realize I never set it up. And it's just a whole lot harder to use. Okay, so we're 10, now we're gonna do 20 here. And we'll drop that rate down. Okay, then I can just do a quick check. And I'm just gonna scroll through the ranges. Okay, good. So all three of the primary flight control surfaces, throttle cut, of course, we're gonna set the switch H, which is back here. We're gonna acknowledge the entry and we're gonna look down here at the stick. The throttle stick's up and you can see the throttle output is at -100. For Spectrum, that means all the way down, even though you can expand that range to 150 up or down. 0 being the center of the sticks, it'd be like 50% throttle on an airplane. But if you're on a helicopter, that'd be neutral. So the blades would be level and the throttle would be whatever the throttle is, depending on what mode you're in. Okay, throttle cuts on, it's tested. Now, throttle cuts off. You can see it goes to life by moving, similar to what my stick is doing. Okay, so stick is at 50%, throttle cuts on, it goes to -100. Perfect, we've tested it. We can depend on that function working. Okay, now flap system we can set because we highlight, we toggle switch B. That's where I want it attached to. And then we can look over here at the manual to actually get the settings. So they suggest switch D. I don't use switch D for that. I use switch B, Bravo. They use Delta, which is up here, but I'm a thumb flyer, not a pincer flyer, so I have trouble getting to D because I have to let off of the stick. I can fly and keep on this stick even with both hands on the sticks. They suggest position 1 at plus 100. So I'm gonna highlight position, excuse me, not position 1, but position 0 to 100. Okay, and then elevator correction would be nothing. And then we wanna do position 2 at 0, and they want elevator correction. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, 100 and 0, 0 and 13. Good Lord, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. And 0, and then this one's gonna be minus 100. So minus 118. That does seem like about the right deviation from point A to point B though, because we go from 0 to 13 to 18. Now that's gonna make the elevator drop down. As the flaps go down on an inboard flap, on an airplane, the elevator is gonna go down to match, because when this goes down, the plane is now going the other direction, is gonna tend to balloon. So as you deploy the flaps, the plane is going to tend to wanna walk up like this. So your elevator corrects it back level, and then you slow down and the drag manifests itself and the flight performance changes accordingly, okay? So it's a big deal. If you think flaps are no big deal and they're not very fun on radio control, that's because you have not experienced flaps and what they can do to the flight envelope of the aircraft. It makes an aircraft that should fly fast, fly slower or much slower before it stalls, okay? Now I'm gonna change the speed to 2 seconds. That's what they suggest, and that's what I suggest too. That's a good default setting, okay? So 2 seconds. So that means when I deploy these, and you can look down here in the monitor mode, you can see it change and you can see it change here, but I wouldn't suggest trying to use the monitor to set up a plane. That'd be crazy. Okay, now the timer, I am gonna set a 5-minute timer. They didn't say anything about it, did they? Mm-mm. Throttle stick, 1 time active. Clear is gonna clear the timer. At 1 minute, I want a voice call out. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want a voice call out. At expiration, I want tone and vibrate with the tone every minute thereafter, okay? Now we're also gonna have telemetry, and it's gonna tell us the motor poles are 12 right here. So it's the motor pole count is 12. We can't set that until we get the telemetry data back and forth from the device. So throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down, and we're gonna get ready to bind. So this is the portion of the video where we bind. So just be careful. This prop is still technically capable of hurting you. I doubt it's gonna hurt you because you're not gonna put your hand in it. But if you did, then if you get cut, then don't be surprised. I still don't want anybody to get cut, but just be kind of careful, okay? So I'm gonna take this battery lead, I'm gonna lift up the XT60, or excuse me, not the XT60, but the JST connector. I'm just gonna reach around like this, keep myself protected, plug it in, and you'll notice some lights coming on the wings. I'm gonna tuck that down inside. I'm gonna just let this sit. Obviously, I can't get to any bind button, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and go like this. I'm gonna go down to bind, and I'm gonna do it like this. That's turned back on. Throttle cut is on. I'm gonna secure the plane by holding my finger on top of the tire just in case. Now it's auto configuring. It's pulling some of the data over from the plane. Okay, so it hasn't started the motor yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and lay the transmitter down. I'm gonna shut off throttle cut and give it a little bit of throttle. We have good throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down. Now, we're gonna scroll all the way to the right. You can see we've got telemetry data on the pack. So obviously our pack is not fully charged. We do not see anything in terms of thrust reverse here, okay? So thrust reverse would typically be accessible by scrolling all the way to the right, and then you would see it in an Avian menu. But we haven't seen thrust reverse on these multi-purpose bricks just quite yet, which is a big disappointment, but it is what it is. I'm still glad we're getting Scrappy, okay? All right, so you can hear the hum of all the servos working. That is one really nice looking plane, guys. It's big for being a small plane. It's big, okay? This is big, and just so you can see the difference in size, it is definitely almost exactly the same as the Draco. In terms of bulk, there's a little bit more material here because the Draco is a little bit skinnier airframe than what this plane is based on. And I can tell we're also in safe, and there's differential mixed in. So camera crew is going back to her spot, which is over here. We're gonna finish the radio setup. Radio setup is not especially difficult on these micros and ultra micros because there's just not that much to do, okay? But we do have to make some changes here in a minute, and I'll show you how to do those. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right. This is differential, guys. That goes up higher than this goes down, okay? This goes up higher than that goes down, okay? That's called differential. Take off flaps, beautiful. Landing flaps. Now you're gonna also look at this. This is gonna go down when you deploy flaps. Up and up. So now that the flaps are neutral, watch this drop. It's gonna run into my finger. Okay, so now it's hitting my finger. Now it's hitting my finger harder, and then it snaps down, okay? Pretty cool. Now, of course, that still continues to work as a regular elevator input. Oh, and then they have mix. Look at that, they have mix. But I bet you anything that's gonna go away when we get out of safe, okay? So now, first things first, gear doesn't change anything because we disassociated that. So I'm gonna scroll over to monitor mode. See, nothing changes. Fine, so we don't care, I'll just leave that up here. Yep, off. Safe mode. So it's probably backward, okay? So I'm gonna click, I'm gonna go to servo setup, travel, reverse, and I'm gonna reverse gear, okay? So now I've got AS3X. How do I know I'm in AS3X? Sticks down and over, you can see the maximum deployment. Now safe. See what's going on there? So it's moving more in AS3X than it would in safe because we have limited bank angles. So I'm gonna click, I'm gonna scroll down to forward programming, and I don't even think we're gonna have any. It's probably not even gonna connect because we don't forward program these. Okay, good. So now we need to go into, what was the other thing we were gonna do, hun?
Well, you won't have an off mode.
Nope, motor. Oh. Telemetry. I think it's under Smart ESC. It might be under motor. Yeah, there we go. Poles. See that? Inhibit. Set it to 12. Boom. Okay? That's going to give you more accurate telemetry data on the motor RPMs and stuff. And your motor RPMs, when you walk all the way out of the menu, is going to be over here. It's warning me. Right here. And here. See the motor? You're gonna get RPMs there. See RPMs, I'm gonna hold the plane, then I'm gonna give it some throttle. So the RPMs here, see that's live. 14,000. And that's a peak and min-max. Okay, so here, RPMs. That's our current, and you can tell that's obviously gonna load this thing like crazy. Okay, so throttle cuts back on and tested, but you can see it sagging because it's not charged. Okay, so I'm gonna click. The one that's charged just beeped at us a minute ago. So now I can go into telemetry, and I can go to smart battery, which I don't know exactly how they call it smart batteries. It's not a smart battery, it's a smart ESC right now. I'm gonna clear that warning because I don't want the startup volts, and I don't want the overcharge volt, and I don't want the imbalance volt warning. But what I do want is I want volts, and I want them to be based on 4S. And I only want minimum voltage warning by a voice. Okay, I want a voice, and I want it as a warning report every 15 seconds if I would engage with a low voltage based on this value, okay? And that also brings up volts on my screen too. There's your volts, okay? So that telemetry screen. And if you guys didn't already know this, when you're in telemetry, if you go to here, it says telemetry. If you go into the one you picked, there's no way to shut off the screen for that, okay? The only way to do it is to eliminate it from this list, okay? Unless you go to settings. Yeah, it looks like it's already there. See, it says primary monitor, inhibit, active, or priority monitor. So I don't know how you would do that. And then there's file settings. There's also another thing under audio events. It's called warnings, telemetry warnings. And you'll notice it takes you into telemetry. So when you go into telemetry, it's gonna basically give you the option to do the audio settings. Okay, make sense? Okay, so that should get you started. All right, so now when we set this up for AS3X off and safe, there isn't probably an off setting, okay? Let's be honest. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go into, let's go to digital switch setup. Digital switch setup is where we're gonna select a switch, in this case, switch D, okay? And so we've already reversed this. So you see how it's going backward here? I'm gonna click, I'm gonna go to servo setup, travel, subtrim, and reverse. And I'm gonna put gear back to what it was, okay? Because otherwise it'll get confusing. So digital switch setup, if I go here, I can either select this, which is switch D, or I could go to whatever the setting was for gear, okay? But it looks like it's just by switch, okay? So that's good. So we'll exercise it to bring it up. So it says AS3X, but watch this. That's AS3X, okay? And you see where it is moving here, gear? That's obviously not safe, that's AS3X, and this is safe. So we want -100 is gonna be safe, and then AS3X is gonna be +100, excuse me. Okay. So we want this section to be safe. Okay, so safe is actually when it's +100. So I'm gonna scroll all the way over, make this +100. Okay, and then we'll make this one -100. So there's gonna be no middle setting, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do next to make the labels exactly accurate. And then this one needs to be -100 as well. I see what happened. It switched between the modes there as I was doing it. Okay. All right, so now it's AS3X.
Off. AS3X mode. Off.
Safe. Okay, so now the other thing is you can tell you're in safe because when you flip the plane upside down, it's gonna try to find the quickest route to level. And as soon as you shut that off to AS3X, it stops doing that. But it does correct, okay? Throttle cuts on, just so you know I'm not gonna get cut. You can see that rudder is gonna move and it's gonna point whatever direction I'm moving it, and I'm not giving any impact, it's gonna tip. Oh, that was the, so then this is gonna go up and down here. So look at the rudder, guys. You see the rudder? I'm gonna rotate the plane and it's gonna obviously resist and resist. And in the background, you can see the transmitter. Obviously, I'm not touching it. Now, same thing with the elevator. Regardless of the attitude of the aircraft, it has to do with the axis of the aircraft. And then the ailerons, as I roll, it's gonna resist and resist. And then it's gonna resist and resist, okay? So we've checked that the direction of the corresponding counter is in the correct direction, okay? But the one thing that's not set up so right is we never could set up off, okay? So we have -100, -100, and +100. I don't know what next does. Oh, it just shows you the whole lot of them. Okay, so I'm gonna walk out. Now I need to go into System Setup, Disconnect RF, and go to the Spoken Flight Mode. So this one's good. This one I wanna mimic. I wanna type AS3X, so cancel, cancel. So this one's gonna be AS3X. And remember, this is just what it says on the screen. It's not actually setting the setting. And then same thing, I just gotta scroll down a little bit further and make it also say AS3X. And you're like, but it's already set to do the right thing. AS3X mode, safe mode, okay? So now we can walk back out. You can hear the plane snap to life as that comes back online. Pretty cool, throttle cuts on. Okay, very good. So everything is working, throttle cuts on. All the different features have been set. Pretty exciting. Looks like it's gonna work good. We have a timer set for 5 minutes. I doubt we're gonna have just a 5-minute flight time, but it isn't impossible. And I don't wanna count my chicks before they hatch here. The other thing too is I'm curious if that bigger pack will fit in here. So I just wanna see for CG, let's see how the CG weighs out. Camera crew is gonna find that in the manual while I get out some calipers. The center of gravity, of course, is gonna impact the way that the plane performs. And the center of gravity is basically gonna be impacted by predominantly the battery in this case. Okay, does it give us the measurements?
Yeah. 35 plus or minus 4. So
Okay.
31 to 39. Looks like it's right, according to the picture, it's right at the beginning of those panels on the wings, but.
Those are decals. I don't trust decals. Okay, so we wanna be, what's the range?
31 to 34.
31 to 34. Okay, 31 to 34 it is. So now remember, this plane's gonna be really hard to test from the top. You're gonna wanna test from the bottom. So I'm gonna wake up my calipers. 35, so it's 31 to 39. It's 35 plus or minus 4. So 31 to 39. Okay. So there's 31, that's good enough. Let's lock that down. And then I'm actually gonna mark the bottom of the wing. These are not decals. It's gonna be incredibly difficult to test this, just so you guys know, because you're gonna have all these wires in the way. So then 39, so here's 39. So we just set that. And then I like to pierce the foam to make a little depression so it's quite easy to test, okay? So just measuring that, that's gonna put us right in the middle of that channel, okay? Now, why is that critical? Well, to be honest with you, it's gonna be kind of hard to feel because it's softer foam, okay? And then also, it's gonna be kind of hard to get your hands in there and test it, okay? So I'm gonna take this marker, this felt tip marker. I'm just gonna go in here and reinforce our two measurements. And it's really hard to get a tool in there, but it can be done, and it's gonna get done. Okay, very good. All right, so as you can see, the marks are made. So really what you wanna do is you wanna balance on kind of the edge of that rail where all that foam goes into, and that's gonna be pretty dang close to where you want the center of gravity. But I gotta say, those 450s are gonna probably offer quite a bit better flight times. I just don't know if it'll fit, because that is a lot bigger battery. Okay, so this calls for a 300 milliamp hour 4S, okay? And all I'm gonna say is, when it comes to battery choices on micros and ultra micros, we almost never deviate from the batteries just because there's not really a great reason to do it. Okay, so you can see I'm just lining this up with my middle finger right in the pad, and that is perfect, okay? So I would say where that is, it's very good. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Let's see if we could even fit this bigger battery in here. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we like to explore the different capabilities. Sometimes we go a little deeper than other times. Full disclosure, this one's not fully charged, so we're gonna go ahead and charge it now. The other one is sitting over here, and as soon as they're done, you can tell when it's a non-smart, go to the other side, please. When it's a non-smart battery, you'll hear all the cooling fans going like crazy. And that's because they're trying to balance these externally. So we'll start that. And once we start that, camera crew's gonna put the camera so you can see. We're gonna start that, you'll be able to see it start counting up the milliamp hours that get forced into it. So we know that this battery will work, but we're just not sure if it's the best option for this plane, because we have this 450 here that has a different style of plug, of course. This has the IC3, but let's see if it even fits. Because I know a million people are gonna ask this question, for good reason, because it should be asked. That's why I'm asking it. Probably have to put it back further. And obviously that's gonna require that we use an adapter, which I kind of had forgotten about that. But if you don't already have an adapter, there is an adapter available, and the adapter will receive and go between those two. It might take me just a quick second to find that, camera crew, if you want to pause. So this is the little adapter I was talking about. So this adapter will go in here and mediate between those two devices. So that's just, it's a lot extra weight though, so just be careful. I'm gonna check the CG after we plug this in. Obviously it's gonna power it up because it's still 4S. Trying to let it arm. Okay. Okay, once it's armed, that's when you more or less know the battery is gonna behave. It's not gonna do something weird. And it does definitely fit, okay? That's a lot bigger battery too. I mean, you gotta remember, in terms of percentage basis, that battery is, yeah, it still balances fine. That battery is 1.5 times as big as the offering that they suggest. So definitely, you know, if it flies well, it's gonna be a serious consideration for me, because I don't necessarily have a problem using a bigger battery if it flies well. But just remember, heavier planes are definitely going to fly heavier, and that is a considerable size difference. But we'll see. It's a pretty big plane for a 300 milliamp hour, if you ask me. So this is gonna be 450 as well, so I'm gonna write that. So 350 or 450, 450 milliamp hour. And the reason I write them here is because once I figure out that they work, I go ahead and mark it so that I don't have to reinvent the wheel when I dig a plane out of our storage, because we have so many different planes. You might not have that same problem yet, and I hope all of you do eventually have that problem. That's a good problem to have. So obviously this battery is charged. I think the camera crew is trying to telepathically tell me that. This one needs to be charged. And so the other thing you have to remember is when you go to charge these, there is another type of adapter too, which you guys might not have seen these. And these are super fancy for like helis and stuff. If you want to use a really dinky battery, and that'll allow you to use the IC3 connection, plug that in, and then go ahead and charge this. 3.2 is probably a little bit fast, since this is technically a 100, or excuse me, this one is a 450. So 450 would be 5 amps, or 0.5 amps rather. So that'd be 1C. Would be 0.45, but you can't do 0.45 on this particular charger. So we're gonna charge both of those. We're gonna have this plane set and ready to rock and roll. And we're gonna give you guys a flight. If you haven't already seen the flight usually on a micro and ultra micro, a lot of times they just lead off the video, but I'm not 100% sure how we're gonna do it with this micro Scrappy. We hope we answered all your questions. Obviously, when we have a little bit of delayed release on stuff like this, it can kind of put us a little bit of a disadvantage, because we want to get this information in front of you. But at the end of the day, we're just really glad to be involved with these. And thanks, Mike Patey, for sharing this plane with the world. Obviously, we get a heck of a kick out of being involved with these things. And if you don't already know, if you're watching this, I doubt you are, we are building a hangar right now. Well, it's actually called a damn gift shop, because we have a damn runway. And the damn runway would be plenty big for you to put a plane like that down on. And it would be pretty cool to see that plane landing on the damn runway. Just saying, you're welcome, anytime. Just tell me and we'll make it work. Because we have plenty of airstrip out there in the alfalfa field, but it would be even cooler if it was on the damn runway. Or the main runway. That, you could probably do the main runway. I don't think you'd have a problem. That being said, a couple of things that are complaints on this plane, and I can tell you this already. I would really like to see thrust reverse. I do not know if Mike put thrust reverse on this. I can't remember if he did variable pitch on these giant paddles. I just can't remember. It's been a while since I looked into it. But they really captured the scale lines. The only thing that bugs me is if this wing is not the style that he did on the plane. And maybe it's a feature, and I might be mistaken. So guys, hold me accountable in the comments below. I know you'll do it without me asking. I'm just a little bit weirded out by the different wing design. I don't want it to be anything less than totally true to form, or at least as close as we can. So the other question I have is, when do we have the optional bicycles? So I would like to see the optional bikes. so that we can put those on here, because that'd be super cool. But I gotta say, beautiful plane. Can't wait to fly it. Guys, thanks for watching. We hope we answered all the questions you might have had. And like I said, again, special thanks to Mike Patey for sharing Scrappy with the world, and also for having shared the Draco with the world. We really enjoy them. They're awesome planes, really fun planes. And the laser scanning and all the efforts that, you know, seemingly behind the scenes, thankless hours of work that you put into making these things so we can enjoy them. Thanks for letting us enjoy them. If you guys have additional questions, leave them down in the comments below, and we will do our best to answer them as we know how. And then don't forget, guys, if you want to support Brian Phillips RC with the things that we do for RC and the RC community, check out the links in the video description below. That's how you can buy these things, and you can help support us with small commissions as you follow the links. Now, that being said, if you don't want to do that, or you want to do something different, we have Patreon for monthly support, YouTube super thanks for one-time donations, YouTube members for monthly support. Thanks for being supporters if you are monthly supporters, or if you do one-times, we really appreciate it. But if you don't want to be part of those groups, we completely appreciate that. We also have PayPal as an option too. We have a PO box if you want to send us something instead. Just let us know to expect it, so we can holler at the post office if it's going to be a big package or something. That being said, looks awesome. Excited to fly it. And thanks for watching, guys. So much more right around the corner. If you are brand new to Brian Phillips RC, welcome to Brian Phillips RC. We get excited about RC because we live it all the time. And we want to help you guys get started, because a lot of times this is a hard hobby to break into, and it's a difficult hobby just to break back into. But we'll help get you up to speed as quick as possible. There's a little bit of pain and suffering involved, but we're going to try to minimize that by being thorough. Okay, that means you're going to have a little bit more involvement for a few videos. And I like to say this: if you are an experienced RC aficionado from 20 years ago, you need help getting up to speed, I promise you. And this is going to sound like I'm preaching directly to you. Just watch 2 or 3 videos, go through a couple of plug-in flies and a couple of bind-in flies, and you'll probably be set. And you probably won't even need to watch our videos anymore. It's going to hurt us because obviously we put these evergreen format videos, they're always up, to try to help as many people as we can, but then also try to sell as many of these as we can, because that's the only way we make any money on these things, is the ad revenue. We get killed because all these people making shorts all the time. We do, you know, 3-hour videos. They're doing 30-second videos. So view counts are down. Subscribership growth is slow. That's just what we do, because we're trying to convert real people into real hobby, really, and not just have a bunch of people that are pooping, watching the videos for 3 minutes and then moving on to the next thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, we probably catch a certain amount of our audience is pooping too. But at the end of the day, this airplane, this hobby, this experience is much bigger than just one dump, okay? I promise you. It's like a lifelong dump. And you want to be part of it, because it is very fun to fly RC airplanes, but it's also a lot more work than people will admit in a 2-minute clip, okay? So we're going to leave you hanging. We're going to try to explain things like what a 4S battery is, and we're going to bore you with some of the details, but you'll thank me later, I promise. It just takes a little bit of time to understand that you don't know what you thought you did, and we'll bring you up to speed, and then you'll appreciate it. But we hope we can keep you around long enough to get to the point where you do appreciate it. And for that reason, we thank you for being patient with us, and thanks for watching, guys. Please come back for more. There's a lot more right around that corner. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.